Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. We have so much to get to this morning. Jay Drew is going to join us from the Deseret News. He talked with BYU's newest high-profile recruit, the transfer from Baylor, and we will hear from the Cougars' new point guard, Robert Wright, coming up. That's at 9 o'clock. Also, joining us in studio today, Patrick Manning from Black Desert Resort. The LPGA Tour is coming to town in early May. We'll talk with him. Right now, though, we're going to start with Will Hardy, the Jazz head coach. Tonight, we find out who the last two playoff teams are. Obviously, the Jazz are waiting for May 12th when they will find out where they are picking in the NBA draft. In the meantime, Will Hardy on what some of his players need to work on this season and his thoughts on the just completed campaign.
Losing can be tough on coaches. Is there any world in which another NBA team comes to you with a more winning program and says, "Hey, we want you to be our head coach"? Do you listen to that, or are you a Utah Jazz man for forever?
I'm all in, man. I'm not going anywhere. This is one that's a crazy scenario that you just brought up. Like, I don't see a world where that would happen, but it doesn't matter. Like, I'm committed here. I'm under contract here. I told Ryan and Danny and Justin that, I want to be here for as long as I can. The goal for me is to put a banner at Delta Center, and I try to operate every day, not just with my job or coaching our team, but how I try to be present in the community. Like, I'm putting my roots here in Utah. That's not even a question for me. In some ways, my conviction has never been stronger in terms of wanting to execute our long-term vision and ultimately win a championship here.
How do you feel that holding players accountable has gone this season? And I mean that from kind of how you do it on a day-to-day basis, like what that looks like, and then also how you feel like has it been positive or negative, or have there been struggles along the way?
I mean, in my opinion, I think it's gone great. I think there's an awareness that's needed when you're a coach in terms of when. A mentor of mine told me a long time ago that coaching is not about being right, it's about being right at the right time. And you have to evaluate each person, what situation they're in terms of when it's time to lay the hammer down and when it's time to put your arm around them and encourage them. And to me, that's the fun part of coaching, is that it's not 2 + 2 is 4. These are human beings. It's a moving target every day. And I think for the most part, it went great this year. I think our players know and feel that ultimately I'm in their corner. It is my responsibility to hold them accountable, though. And you have to hold the line. If you demand something and it's not met, you have to continue to hold that line. And I'm very proud of our players in terms of how they conducted themselves this season. Over the course of 82 games with 18 guys, of course, there are moments where there's a back and forth or there's a disagreement, but there was never a moment this season where I felt like, oh, we've lost this person or they're going their own way.
Doc Rivers said this season that he doesn't think that coaches or losses should go on coaches' records during these rebuilding seasons that you guys had. Kind of in the same sense, how do you go about evaluating a year like this when wins and losses doesn't really make sense to do such a thing?
I mean, I'm sure Doc was fine with the wins and the championship in Boston. I don't think it's fair for us to say, oh, this shouldn't be on me. This is the job. Like, this is the responsibility. This is what you sign up for. The good, the bad, and the in-between. I said to you guys last night, complaining is not a strategy. And sure, the losses go on my record, but the opinions that matter to me are the people that are in our building, our organization. They know what we do every day. And so I think that's just the shadow side of coaching, is that, when you lose, it follows you. But when you win, that follows you also. So I think, while I understand Doc's sentiment, I just think this is part of the job.
Coach, building culture is something that's so huge, whether it's just with your young players, some of the older ones, your coaching staff, everyone around you. How much of a focus is that for you this off season, and how do you instill that in guys even when you're not around them all the time?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. For our young players to grow and develop, the environment is the most important thing to me. Like, we use the word culture. I think the culture is ultimately made up of the people that are in the building. I don't think culture is a slideshow. I don't think culture is bullet points on a wall. I think culture is the people that are in the building. And ultimately, the measure of your culture is how everybody acts when you're not in the room. The environment around our young players is the most important thing to me. We have to cultivate a group of people, that's players, staff, that give everybody their best chance to grow into the best versions of themselves. I think through 3 seasons, we've been pretty particular about who we want here, and we're going to continue to try to refine that process. That's an everyday thing, and I just want to make sure that while we're going through this developmental phase, that we're giving all of our young players the best opportunity to grow based on what we surround them with.
Does the idea of having 4 more rookies come in spike your blood pressure?
No. That doesn't bother me at all. I think I have plenty of experience now coaching really young players. There's good parts and there's tough parts, just like there's good parts and tough parts to coaching veterans. So, we will coach whoever is on the roster and try to help them all maximize their abilities and grow, and also try to help the 18 people that are in our locker room function as a group at their highest level. But, if that's the case, I'm sure there'll be plenty of snarky comments made on Twitter, but that's just the way it goes.
I'm going to ask you for the 6 rookies and sophomores. You're going through end of season meetings with them. What are the 1 or 2 priorities you want them to work on this summer?
Yeah. So Cody, it's about his body and his physical strength. We also have to do some things to refine his shooting. Isaiah, conditioning has to become a superpower, and then we have to continue to refine his shooting, especially the kind of sit behind 3 off the bounce when people try to go way under in pick and roll. Flip has got to become more solid on the defensive end. He has to be earlier on the defensive end. I think that Flip is used to making plays over the top over the course of his life, and I think at this level we just need him to be a little bit earlier defensively. And then as it relates to his shooting, he has seen some success, and now we have to tighten those things and make it his habit, because as expected there was some success, then some of the things started to drift a little bit, which with any new skill is not a shock to me. Like, there was no alarm bell that went off. But now with the off season, he can really try to make those things a habit. Guenther has got to improve his defense. His defense can be improved in a variety of ways. Some of it is the mental aspect, but there also is an element of his conditioning and his physical strength. On the offensive side, his shooting discipline needs to improve. You asked the question about efficiency, and I think that those things need to be addressed, but more than that, I think just the technical discipline when he does shoot, not falling out of his shot, some of those things can be worked on. Taylor, we've got to get healthy. That's the only focus. And Bryce has to make his body his number one priority. I think Bryce has shown everybody that he has a definable, tangible NBA skill. When he shoots, it goes in. But his body is going to help him navigate all the other areas. Everything from changing ends of the floor to becoming more solid defensively. If he can do those things, it allows his skill to really shine.
Is there a type of player that you think this team needs, or is it kind of too early to be thinking of like where players would fit in?
Yeah, right now, I'm more concerned with the type of people. I think our roster at this point, you could make arguments for a variety of different positions, but I think we also have a bunch of talent in the building. Because everybody's so young, there aren't that many guys that stand out head and shoulders above the pack where you would say, like, oh, that position's not a need. I think we obviously, whenever we're acquiring players, the number one thing is we want good players. But the type of people, to me, is what's most important. We need tough, competitive people. And I think our process of evaluating, Danny, Justin, their entire group, the information that I receive through those processes, I think is very good in trying to identify the types of people that we're bringing in, because especially when you're acquiring very young players, the one and dones used to be outliers 5 or 6 years ago. Now everybody in the draft's 19, and so you have a little bit less basketball data on them, and you're ultimately trying to bet on human behavior. And I think that our group's done an amazing job of recognizing that and trying to identify the types of human beings that we want to bet on. That's what's most important to me, because I think, back to Lauren's question earlier, like, that's what adds up to the culture. That's what ultimately will impact the environment the most and give everybody their best chance. I think there's a lot of different player types in terms of basketball that can be really effective. And so for me, it's not about pinpointing, oh, we need X. It's about the human piece.
Along those lines, how involved are you in the draft evaluation process, and how much do you want to be, I guess?
I'm very involved, and I'm glad that I'm very involved. Obviously, there's so much work that's been done all year. This is a 1,000-mile road trip, and I'm coming in at mile 950, so I'm not going to try to drive. But I'm trying to really get an understanding of who has been identified as players that we, the Jazz, like, and why. So if there's 300 college players that have been watched all year by our staff, I don't have the opportunity to watch all 300. They try to narrow it down for me some. And so for me, I'm in a learning mode right now as we enter draft season. I take the lead from Justin and Danny in the front office, because that's the part that they have been digging in on all year while I've been coaching our team. So I'm involved, but in no way do I come in acting like I'm the expert. I need to really take the next month and a half and learn about who's in the draft and how it all fits together.
There's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. When we come back, we're going to hear from the Utah Hockey Club as they head into the offseason. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK, proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier Golf Resort. Utah Hockey Club season-ending interviews, the exit interviews. A lot of players meeting with the media. We can't play them all right now. We'll probably play a few next week. But this morning, a couple of guys, Dylan Guenther. I mean, this guy's 21, going into his 22-year-old campaign next year, putting up big numbers. The future looks really bright. What did he think of his year in Utah? Here's Dylan Guenther.
First full year in the league for you, kind of hard to believe for some fans, but what were your biggest takeaways from the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that throughout my 3 years, I've played a little more each year and gotten a little better each year. So just understanding, how busy it is, how often you play, and how to, manage myself physically, mentally, taking care of, my body and all that.
Did anything about the full NHL season surprise you?
I don't think so. I mean, it is long, and every game matters. I think like the position that we're in, fighting down the stretch. The games in October and November, they all matter. So I think that it was good to kind of go through that and understand it and have that feeling, so that when we come into it next year, we're prepared.
You said with your contract kicking in, you might buy a new hot tub for the Costco bill next year. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, that one didn't last, so I don't know about a new one, but I think we're getting a new one at the new practice rink, so I'm sure it's pretty nice.
How good do you think you can be?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to continue to get better every year and don't want to set, any limitations. This is what I want to do. This is, I love playing hockey, and I think if I just continue to work and get better, then, I don't want to set any kind of limits.
Is there a different feeling for you guys going into this offseason, seeing how close you were to the playoffs versus, being out last year?
Yeah, I think just like I said earlier, like getting a taste of it and, getting a little closer this year. I think we had like 11 more points or something than last year. We've taken a step ever since I've got drafted here. We've gotten better. So I think that next step is to get into the playoffs, and it's not going to be easy. The division's strong, the league's so competitive. So yeah, I think just making sure that when we're playing in October and November, just knowing how important those games are.
A lot of players, both on your team and in the league, have said you've got one of the best shots, but how do you go about continuing to add more goals, to your season total moving forward?
I think just being more versatile, scoring inside more, getting to grittier areas. I think you don't want to be predictable for the other team, so trying to, work on, not just different shots, but scoring from different areas on the ice.
Is there a particular facet of your game that you want to focus on more than maybe anything else this offseason?
Yeah, I think just like so much of the game is played on the wall and around the board, so I think picking up pucks off the wall, dirty pucks that are kind of tough bounces and stuff around the boards, holding on to pucks down low and trying to possess it a little bit more than I have.
What was it like away from the rink, away from hockey, making Utah home? Were there any moments or experiences that kind of stood out that helped you settle here?
Yeah, I mean, it's flown by, honestly. Like, I remember coming into training camp and coming to Utah for the first time and just not really knowing what to expect. So the people, the fans, the ownership, the support has all been, unbelievable. And it's just a really fun place to play, and I'm excited to come back next year.
Any favorite spots you guys have found on off days or anything?
We went to Top Golf yesterday. Brought our own clubs to Top Golf. Went bowling. Don't go to lane 17 at Draper Bowling. The pins don't fall there, so I told the guy that. But no, I think just trying to do stuff like that and and going up into the mountains, Park City a couple of times is great.
Who's the best at Top Golf?
I mean, it's a little iffy because when you're putting, you have to chip it into like the one that's super close, so I wasn't very good at that. But if anyone to beat me at Top Golf, I'll say that.
Same question for bowling.
I'm the better bowler.
Do you feel like you look better with the bubble or just the shield?
I think the visor. it's nice that it healed up. Not too bad, so hopefully don't take a whole lot more pucks.
How is the nose? Is it feeling better?
Yeah, it's just good. Yeah, it's just, it's broken, so I got a little bump here, but it's fine.
So how does the visor impact your peripheral vision and stuff when you're playing?
No, it felt pretty normal. I was worried about it at first, but no, it was like pretty stock.
You talked about wanting to avoid surgery. Do you think you're good for the summer?
Yeah, I think so. More of an aesthetic thing than anything, probably.
Are you going to go to the World Championships this year?
I'm still kind of thinking about it, up in the air. I have to discuss with the medical staff, but whenever you get the opportunity to represent your country, it's a huge honor. So, yeah.
A lot of guys have been saying, like around the league, that the World Championship is kind of a tryout for the Olympics next year. Do you see it that way? And if so, is the Olympics the goal?
I think it is. I mean, a lot of the guys who are going to play in the Olympics are playing in the playoffs right now. So I think that, for guys not playing in the playoffs, and this is like that a little bit, but the goal is to just get better every year and come out hot next year.
What would you say are the big selling points for this franchise to maybe potential free agents down the road?
I just think the impact of the city and how much the people care. Like the building's sold out every night. We're losing by 3 or 4 some games, and people are still there. I think that says a lot, and that's not normal. I think the ownership group is unbelievable. Everything's first class. Our new practice facility is crazy nice, and the players they want to be here and they want to play here and they want to win in Utah.
Maine said that the rebuild is over. You guys know what you need to do moving forward. I'm just curious, what's your assessment of where this team is at, what you guys can accomplish next season and the season after?
Yeah, I think just like I said before, just get a little bit better every year. You're not going to go from last to first. That just doesn't happen. I think it's a process. We all understand that, and everyone on the team has been patient, but is hungry to take that next step. And I think that we're aware of how hard it is to get into the playoffs and how big of an accomplishment that is in itself. It's such a competitive league, so just make sure that we're ready to go from the start, because every game's going to matter for us to get in.
There's Dylan Guenther at the podium. Here's Spicy Tuna, Liam O'Brien with PK.
Spicy Tuna, Liam O'Brien. There's the tuna man. Do we call him Mr. Spicy? I don't know. I don't know what we call him. I'm just going to call him Liam O'Brien. Liam, you're on KSL Sports Zone, where that is the home of the Utah Hockey Club. Good morning. How you feeling today?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm feeling good. I think it's, I think as players, we definitely want to be playing playoff hockey, but, I think our team took a step this year, and I think that's something we're proud of.
Yeah, that's what I've been noticing. We've had players come through here and then at the podium and joining us live. And I've kind of summarized it in that there is a sense of satisfaction. You talk about taking the step. So 3 things I've noticed. There's a sense of satisfaction that the team has progressed. No one can argue that. You just look at the raw stats and you can say, okay, you've been better. You're better now than you were last year and so forth. So that's the one thing. The second thing is there's a love affair going on between you guys and the community. Would you say that's accurate?
Oh, 100%. I would say even the progression was even just within the year. I think from start to finish, I think just the way that we played towards the end of the year, I think we took a step even within the year. So, and then obviously with the fans, I think, the community here has really embraced us, and, we're enjoying our time.
And then the third thing I've noticed, so 3 things. This is the third thing, is that the guys, and I didn't know what word to use, but I'm settling on angry. They're angry. You guys, you're on the team, are angry that there is no postseason.
Yeah, I think we all. I think I encourage fans to watch postseason hockey because it's electric. It's when you get to be a part of that. I haven't been able to do it at the NHL level yet, but it's different, and it's emotional, and it's just passionate hockey, and it's So it's disappointing we don't get to be a part of that,
particularly when it's overtime hockey.
Yeah, because I mean, you could go forever,
right? Or it could end in a minute.
Or it could end in a minute. Yeah.
I mean, it's just you can't look away.
Yeah,
because you
and
don't
it's not
know
3-on-3 anymore too. So it's
right.
I think that's what's cool about it is that everybody's involved, and it's different.
Liam O'Brien joining us right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We all remember when the team first got here, and your role and you hyping up the crowd and everything. And here we are now. The season's over. As you get older, time seems to go by fast. Did it the proverbial blink of an eye? Is that what you're thinking?
Oh, it blew by. This year blew by for sure. Yeah. But it was just such a wonderful experience. And to be a part of the first year for this franchise, history, it's, I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for all the fans and the love.
I grew up in Phoenix, and my sister's hairdresser has just been in depression since you guys left. She knew. So my sister's hairdresser knew my job in the media, and so my sister would always be asking me, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? What are you hearing? And she said, because then she'd report back to the hairdresser. So there was some passionate fans down there. We know that last game at the ASU arena. I went to ASU and all that stuff. So, but we're glad that you're here. And one of the things in listening to the guys at the podium, so there's a question, and they said 10 players on the team had career highs statistically. That's got to be a sign of, man, that their arrow is really pointing up for you guys.
Yeah, we got our young guys really, honestly, they've done a great job, and their development and the process and everything, they've all taken steps, and I think it's fun to see your teammates grow. It's fun to see guys hit milestones, like even Keller hitting 90 points this year. Like, right. I know that's big for him. He's a humble guy. He probably wouldn't say it, but it's impressive too, right? So it's
sure.
It's always great to see your teammates, do special things.
As I look at this team and watch the progression throughout the year, Bill Armstrong reminded me of what he said leading into the season. He said, some nights, man, you're going to think, gosh, this team is really good. We're going to win the cup. And then there's other nights you're going to be thinking, what's going on with these guys? And to an extent, you saw that this season. I brought it up with some other players. Before you beat the Kraken here recently, after they were eliminated, you were 0-2 against them, but yet you had some phenomenal victories against some really good teams, Winnipeg being the most recent here. Is it just a matter from your perspective as you go into next year and you need to take that next step? Is it just a matter of consistency, or what is it?
Yeah, 100%. I think it really comes back to consistency and, the maturity of our game. I think, it's a grind of a season. It's 82 games, and I think throughout that course, you need to find ways to, stay consistent and stay dialed in, and you need to learn some lessons, and I felt we learned from a lot of the stuff that happened at the start of the year, and I like the way that we handled the adversity as well.
How about the idea of at the end of the season, or towards the last, basically you could say the last couple of months, Liam, that you didn't make the playoff, but essentially these games had maybe some type of playoff ramifications. So it wasn't like last year where you're basically playing out the season and waiting to come up here and all that stuff. The games at the end of the season, even though they weren't technically playoff games, the playoff implications and ramifications add to the level of importance. How important was that in the progression of the team to be in those situations over many games that can help you next season?
Definitely. I think when you're playing those meaningful games, and we did for a long time, right? We were in that sort of, chasing that wild card spot for a while. Yeah. And those meaningful games add pressure.
Right.
And, I think playing under that pressure, it's great for our team, and I think we can learn a lot from that. And, yeah.
A couple of the guys, when they came in, they talked about in their communities, we've had a few guys. One guy lived downtown, one guy lived in the suburbs, bought a house. And then I think it was Busted was saying that, I think it was him saying that they got deluged with the community giving them stuff, cookies and treats and whatnot, and they had a welcoming party. He figured a handful of people, and there's like 70, 80 people. Your level of any of that experience?
Yeah. I mean, my community, I'm in Sandy, they were great to me. I mean, everybody was coming to the door and giving me cookies and gifts and everything, and everyone was just so welcoming. So no, I don't know if they didn't throw me a party, but
you live in Sandy?
I do, yeah.
Well, okay, I live in Sandy's. Yeah. Next year we are throwing a party for spicy tuna. Liam O'Brien, how about that?
Sure, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's your summer going to be like?
I think I got a lot that I want to improve upon, and things that I want to work on, and I'm gonna, go to work, but also, I've got a little girl, so spend some time with family and enjoy this time in her life.
I found a lot of hockey players play golf. Are you one of them?
I do play golf. I'm not a golf all the time guy, but I do play golf. I enjoy golf. When I can find the time, I try to get out.
If I were to ask you who's the best golfer on the team, who would you say? Keller
or Schmaltz? Yeah, they're both. They could go toe to toe. I mean, they're very. It just depends what day of the week it is. They could go back and forth all the time. They're really good golfers.
Yeah, I saw a thing with Keller had when he was living in Phoenix that looked like it was North Scottsdale, that he had a little pitching area in his backyard and all that stuff, and he must have had 50 or 100 balls were laying out there, which means he's practicing a lot.
Oh yeah. And anytime you go over there, you just go back there and you're chipping him onto his green. So yeah, he's got a good setup.
Well, thanks for joining us, and we appreciate your enthusiasm and integrating yourself in the community, and we really look forward to next season.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That's Liam O'Brien. Thank you, Liam.
There's Liam O'Brien, spicy tuna. We're going to take a break. When we come back, RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. Stay with us. DJ and PK, a reminder to join Hans and Scotty Monday from noon to 3 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. We're joined once again by RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. The team will be home against Toronto this weekend, Saturday night. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, DJ PK.
Pablo, the phrase that is used at the club, the mantra, winning through development. I feel like sometimes the winning's 80% of the equation, the development's 20%. But right now I'm feeling like the development's 80% of the equation and the winning is only 20%. Do you ever feel that emphasis swing back and forth? And how do you see it play out? And when do you see it change?
That's a great question. I think, I think in order to develop people in the right way, you have to be winners. It's a belief system. And so I think for us, it's balance. And, our roster is a young roster. And so the way I look at it and what drives me every day is, development takes time. And the only way to go from a development player to an experienced player is to make a lot of mistakes. I mean, a ton of mistakes, right? And that's how we learn in life. We make mistakes, you do better next time. But obviously in a season, right, there's your time. And so how long is it going to take an individual? So from a coaching perspective, we got all hands on deck. We have coaches doing videos. I don't know, they probably do like 20 videos with with different players throughout the week, right, on top of the team players. So how do we supercharge the development process? And sometimes I think it's it's not realistic, right, because people have to feel it in game times, because it's one thing to do it in training and it's another to do it in games where there's chips on the line. So to answer your question, I think that's always going to be a balance, and it's always going to swing one way or the other. I think when you're winning, then you can really hyper-focus on the development piece. But when you're not winning, it's very hard to focus on the development piece and get the the best guys on the field that can achieve it, whether they're young or they're inexperienced. But it's definitely it's a great question, and one that we wrestle with every day.
Can an individual who may not be playing anywhere near his capability, and that will come through experience and time and all that stuff, can he have a level, a measure of feeling a sense of accomplishment if the team wins? And then conversely, can an individual have a level of feeling success and accomplishment if the team doesn't win? You see what I'm saying there?
Yeah. I think it's both, PK, and that's a great point, because I think, listen, every player knows when he plays well. It's not something that he needs validation from a coach from. Every player understands, what his role is, and really it's a feeling of in game time, like, am I secure with the ball? Am I making good decisions defensively? Am I intercepting balls? So you can gauge as an individual whether you're playing well or not. I think when the individual plays well, a younger player plays well, and the team wins, that's like everything aligning. And I think that validates the player to continue to drive to become better than he currently is. But I think it's difficult. Obviously you're not going to be outward in your happiness of your own progress, but I think deep down inside you're aware that you're playing well even if the team doesn't win. But we're at the point now where it's, we got a group of guys that are really, really committed. And, again, I can only go by the training sessions we have as far as the mindset and the attitude. And the last 2 days have been top.
There's so many factors that go into winning and losing, and you control a lot of them, but you don't control all of them. And one of them is the refereeing / officiating, depending on the sport. And there is a built-in thing here, Pablo, long before you started coaching here, long before you played here in the first RSL home game ever. We'll get to that in a minute. It was already built into the fan base here. Like, Jazz fans are sure the Lakers get calls. I could show you a playoff game the Jazz won when they got a call, but the facts don't matter in this. It's emotional. Utah wasn't going to catch any breaks refereeing against USC, and RSL isn't going to catch any breaks against LAFC or the Galaxy. And I thought watching that Nashville game, there were 3 calls or no calls that could have gone your way, any one of which might have changed the game. But when you're out there, the calls involved a 21-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 23-year-old. And do I really think, and I've watched strike zones in baseball, and I've watched free throws in basketball, and I think it's the same thing in soccer. Do I really think the 23-year-old is going to get the benefit of the doubt against Hani Mukhtar? No, I do not. Do I think the kids are going to get the benefit of the call on the road in any of these sports? Absolutely, I do not. But that's more losing and beats guys down when you're trying to get them to control what they can control. So how do you address that when somebody gets an elbow at midfield and the crowd's groaning like it's going to be a red card, but after VAR it's only a yellow? How do you address that with the guys? Because I don't know that they shake that off all that well.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And for me, I do the old look over here because, again, I think, if I start moaning and complaining about referee calls, then I'm taking my eyes off the direction that we want to move in and putting the focus in other areas. But you're spot on. I think that game in those 3 different situations, given, if they were different players, with a bit more experience or, these type of things, I think could have definitely influenced the game. I mean, the offsides call, the fact that we don't use lines to dictate on VAR whether or not he was truly offsides is interesting to me because, again, the linesman didn't have his flag up. And then, obviously, the call at midfield and then the penalty call. So these are the margins, and that's why I keep talking to the group about moments. So we went through this video, and the premise of the video was to explain, like, okay, in this moment, Nelson, did you think that there was going to be a penalty awarded in 3 seconds? And obviously no. And so, like, how can we start scanning the field and putting ourselves in the most ideal position to not allow that to even happen again? And so what I'm asking for is 5,400 moments of engagement, which is incredibly, it's probably unrealistic, but that's what the game depends on is the moments. And so, again, going back to what you said, yeah, more than likely we're not going to get those calls. But really, for my chair, it's really focusing on what we can control so that when calls aren't made against us, we're in positions to win games because we've played those moments really, really well.
You talk a lot about from the offensive perspective. I'm wondering, what is your evaluation defensively? You know, you got a 34-year-old back there as a goalkeeper. You got a guy like Justin Glad's been around for a bit. So I was just wondering what you thought of that aspect of the team.
Yeah, you know, I think we started off a little wobbly, and I think we conceded 7 goals in 2 games in the first part of the season here. And but really, the last few games, I thought we've been really good. You know, I go back to the LA game, Galaxy game here at home. Didn't give up a shot inside the box, so that was really good. This Nashville game, we didn't give up a goal in the run of play, but we give up a corner and we give up a penalty kick, right? And so I see progress in the way we're defending. And again, another interesting tidbit where we gave up probably 7 chances in the run of play off of throw-ins, right? So yesterday there was you know, a 30-minute part of our session that was just focused in on both our attacking throw-ins and our defending throw-ins. So again, like the soccer is all one thing, right? We like to break it up in different phases because it's easier to teach and it's easier to talk about. But your attacking throw-in can be just as detrimental as a turnover in midfield, and how we go about thinking about this mundane moment, which is a throw-in that could potentially cost us a game, or this throw-in can actually help us win a game, right? And so just making the mundane moments, you know, an area of focus, I think will help us, whether it's set pieces from deeper areas, second phase set pieces. So, but overall, I think our defending has been improving as we've been going.
On that first goal on the corner, was that a case of like there was some zonal rules there and a guy was supposed to be passed off? We never know what the players are coached and taught to do in a moment. It looked to me like one guy had him and then another guy could have picked him up, but one guy let him go and nobody picked him up, so now all of a sudden it's a free header. So Cabral gives up 2 goals, but yeah, on a free header and a penalty, of course he did. I mean, of course he did, right? So it's like, what happened with those 2 guys? Because it just seemed like a you take it, I got him. And maybe there's a third guy who's involved, and I don't realize it because I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I'll give you the setup so you can look for it in games. So when teams stack vertically, in other words, they stack 1 over 1 vertically, then our 2 players that are meant to be marking, and we mark man-to-man with 6 players. And so when one peels right and one peels left, it doesn't matter who you were assigned to, you take the next player, right? So if Emeka and Jay Glad are marking 2 guys that are stacked vertically, if one goes one side and one goes the other, they switch guys. And I think Jay Glad got caught up in that exchange, right? The other part of that is we have a central player at the middle of the small box, the 6-yard box, who's zonal, who needs to be more aggressive. And in that case, it was Ari, who needs to be more aggressive moving forward. So it's like that position is a guy that just seeks the ball and attacks the ball. So between the exchange and the zonal player, we should be able to do better on that play. And so I think just moving forward, as you start to watch our setups, you know, defensively, that's what we ask our guys to do. Oftentimes, if you try to get in between a vertical stack, you get beat both ways because there's too much movement. So this has been the way we've done it in the past. It's worked extremely well in the past. So we'll continue to fine-tune that. But it's really those 2 guys and our zonal at the top of the 6.
Reports of a potential shift in ownership. I'm wondering from the coaching perspective, it seems like you got a million things to do. Is that something that is even on your radar, particularly during the season?
No, PK. It really isn't. I'm really excited. We got to meet the Miller family yesterday. They sound wonderful people, and what they were able to do with the Jazz, you know, prior to their selling, was remarkable. You know, and you know, they have big aspirations for the club, and obviously we've just met them, and really excited to get to know them and to hear about their story and how that story is going to influence RSL moving forward. But they were fantastic people. But as you rightly pointed out, I mean, we got a game in a couple days. You know, life is happening down here that we've got to get our hands on every day and make sure that we're moving this thing forward. So I'm super excited about the future of the club, but knowing there's a lot of work to do in the short term.
I have seen you and Brian Dunseth interact, and I know that you can crack each other up and you seem to enjoy each other's company. Life doesn't really allow you to hang out a lot, but when I see you together, there's clearly a relationship there. 20 years ago yesterday, RSL played its first home game against the Colorado Rapids, and you were with Colorado then.
Oh, I booed the crap out of him. I remember that.
And Dunny scores the first goal and plants the flag in the corner. He's been teased about that a million times. He raised his arm. He's playing to the crowd. The self-promoting is just off the charts, right? And he insists he didn't know anything about it. Like, do you even notice stuff like that when you're playing? Is that the kind of stuff that creates rivalries, that gets your blood boiling? How does all that play out? I mean, it was 20 years ago. I saw you interviewed on this in practice earlier this week, and your response was hilarious when you started. It looked like you were appalled that it had been 20 years. It looked like you blacked out on part of the game. You did remember the crowd of 20,000, and there was a little juice there. But how do those moments go down when you're a player?
Yeah, I think, again, when I scored my first goal, I did a backspin, like a breakdancing backspin, and that wasn't rehearsed. That was, and I wasn't a break dancer, so it was obviously a terrible backspin. It was more like a back break, because I remember hobbling after I got up. But I think those moments are amazing, and I think if there's someone that might have thought about a celebration after their first goal, it might have been Dunny. But I think planting the flag is a pretty cool celebration. In that first game, score the first goal. This is a flag that no one will ever remove. And so I just remember, like I said, I remember the crowd. I remember the environment was quite hostile. And I knew at that point that this rivalry was going to last a long time.
20 years goes by in a blink of an eye, doesn't it, Pablo?
20 years. Where'd they go?
I'm wearing it with all these gray hairs, DJ.
All right. Well, one more VAR is probably 3 or 4 more gray hairs.
Here's to another 20.
All right. Thanks, Pablo. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
There's Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach. They're home against Toronto. That'd be winless Toronto, PK. Winless in their last 13 dating back to last season. And it's weird because they played Miami and Messi scored, but Toronto scored a fantastic goal and ended up 1-1, splitting the points. They've got 4 points in 8 games. Still looking for their first win, though. Coming up next, what is trending? The headlines. Stay with us.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NBA.
Tyler's a great competitor. We were fighting to get back. I mean, that would have been an absolute steal if we got that game. I mean, if he made the shot, I tell you what, it would have been a whole lot more interesting than those last 2 possessions. But he's a great competitor, so he knew he was going to have to bring a lot to this game, and offensively he was there pretty much at every level.
Miami coach Eric Spoelstra on Tyler Hero. Miami's taking on Atlanta tonight, 5 o'clock on TNT. The winner will be the 8th seed in the East. The loser's out. The winner will advance to play Donovan Mitchell and Cleveland. Dallas Mavericks and Memphis Grizzlies at 7:30. Losers out. Winner advances to play Oklahoma City. PK, this looks like teams trying to win a game because winning's better than losing, but it just sets them up if they win to be the sacrificial lamb versus the 1 seed. Am I missing anything, or is that how you see it too?
Well, isn't that like 95%? Whoever plays the 1 seed in the first round is going to lose.
I think
what's the difference?
I think I don't think there's a big one. I think the only thing that maybe just because we're seeing teams take the regular season with less importance and saying just get in. And 2 years ago, we saw 7 and 8 seeds go to the conference final and the NBA finals. Now, we didn't see it last year, and we didn't see it 3 years ago. So I think it was just a case of the teams that happened to be in those spots being able to pull it off a couple years ago.
I have no idea who the 8 seed was last year without looking it up.
I don't remember who it was last year because they were the sacrificial lamb and they went out. I remember that Miami was an 8 seed and went storming through the playoffs 2 years ago. And Lakers were a 7 seed and got to the conference final. But you're right. I don't remember who the 7 and 8 seeds were last year without looking it up, and I don't remember who it was 3 years ago because they're usually sacrificial lambs.
It's just a game. I mean, I don't read anything more into it. It's just a game.
NBA playoffs start tomorrow. Bucks, Pacers, Clippers, Nuggets, Pistons, Knicks, Timberwolves, Lakers. Luka Doncic says he's eager to face Minnesota again. They had a wild series with him last year. You may remember him hitting a big shot over Rudy Gobert and screaming at the end.
Yeah. I'll be interested in that series for sure.
Yeah. Is that the glamour series here out of this group?
In the first round?
Yeah. I mean, whoever can get it to 6 or 7 games, but as it starts, who are you looking forward to?
Definitely that one, and then we'll see if anything develops. They could be some just scintillating personal performances, individual performances. I'll be watching Cleveland to see. I've been watching Mitchell all along just to see what he can do. I find him an entertaining ball player, and a lot of pressure on those guys with the record being what it was. Not necessarily in the first round, but as we progress. Yeah, I mean, they all have a level of entertainment for me to where I could watch just about any. Obviously, the Laker T-Wolf thing has my attention a little bit more, and that's going to I haven't looked at see what the times are, but I assume that's going to be prime time.
Bucks guard Damian Lillard, the former Weber State Wildcat, will not play in the series opener tomorrow, but he is expected to be available soon. He had deep vein thrombosis. They had blood thinners for that. You can't play when you're on the blood thinners. He's now off the blood thinners, so I guess maybe you have to be off for a certain amount of time or something. I don't know.
I once had shallow vein thrombosis, and I came through that. Took a couple of buffering, got some rest and chicken noodle soup. And it turned out okay. Look at me now.
Your instincts are correct. Lakers Timberwolves 6:30 on ABC. What? How could that be in prime time on ABC?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Lakers,
the league has to do that. It has to play the most important people and put them at the most important times. It's a business, man, and they're there to make money.
Phoenix Suns owner Matt Ishbia took responsibility for their issues this past season, telling reporters it was an embarrassing season, right? Disappointing, awful. I watch every game like all you guys do, and no one's proud of it. No one's happy with it, from me to the front office to the coaches and players to the marketing executives to the security guards. It was a failure. Close quote.
At least he didn't say to the janitors, because usually when they do that, they always go what they're telling you from the most important people to the least important.
So they didn't say janitors, stopped with security guards. That was enough.
And I take that. And we'll get to this later about not being important.
A day after parting ways with GM Monty McNair, the Sacramento Kings appear to be set to hire Scott Perry as their new GM. Perry spent a brief stint in Sacramento before joining the New York Knicks. Next!
I have no clue who Scott Perry is.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
That number 2 pick, because that's kind of how he's viewed, as the guy that can do both versus just is one side or the other.
No, I don't see it that way. I think it's, and I'm going to use a crossboard now, it's a little bit like Ohtani, right, where when he's playing one side, he's an outstanding player. If he's a pitcher or he's a hitter, he's an outstanding player. You obviously get a unicorn if you use them both ways.
That's Cleveland Browns general manager Andrew Berry. Travis Hunter, Shohei Ohtani, the comparisons. Cleveland.
See? I told you.
Cleveland's drafting second overall.
It wasn't Travis Hunter and Aaron Judge. It's Shohei Ohtani. You had the audacity to compare Aaron Judge to
I did. I did. I should not be so dismissive of Travis Hunter. My bad.
Travis Hunter, I don't understand why he's not going to play special teams. What a sloth.
Aaron Rodgers said he's still undecided on his future. He didn't rule out the possibility of retiring as he spoke publicly for the first time since being released by the Jets last month.
Same here. I'm so undecided.
Quote, I'm open to anything and attached to nothing. Retirement could still be a possibility, but right now my focus has been and will continue to be on my personal life, and that's what I've told the coaches. There's still conversations that are being had. It's all been very honest lines of communication.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me, man. I may not be here Monday. I don't know. I may be on the beach. I have to figure it out, man. Just have open lines of communication.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
With all due respect to everybody in the country, to every wide receiver, to everybody that's doing all this stuff, like, if you want to make $2 million at wide receiver, that's to blow a homie over at Ohio State. Ain't nobody else making that money. Giving no wide receiver no $2 million, man, in college. Nah. That ain't me. I ain't doing that. I can't do it. Unless they tell me that we get a chance to have Travis Hunter, he could come back to college and he could come here and play for us, then he gonna get some of my check. But I ain't paying nobody $2,000 this year. Not to me. $2 million, whatever. I just say, yeah, we ain't giving nobody that.
Nah, he ain't paying nobody.
Syracuse coach. Syracuse coach Fran Brown on NIL.
I ain't paying nobody. Fran Brown, born and raised in Camden, New Jersey. You think I'm gonna pay money? He ain't paying no Good job, Fran. I heard that yesterday. All right on, brother. Way to tell it like it is. Just cut out the BS, man.
NIL is now blowing the mind of coaches.
I think he would say that at any point in his life. He's just speaking the truth, man. He's telling it like it is. How do you argue with what he said? There's zero argument on me.
Ever since he's taken over at Syracuse this past year, this is his whole thing.
And he went 10-3, so he's earned that right. He's a Jersey guy.
You get to talk when you have 10 wins.
Yeah, I mean, they ain't paying him shit.
Unless it's Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter can come back to college.
Right, yeah.
Because then you're paying a corner also, right?
Well, as he said, he can have some of my check if I get Travis Hunter
For
back.
$2 million, the old Charles Barkley quote, $1 million to be the wide receiver, $1 million to be the corner, and if you want me to play special teams, I need another $1 million. Just all morning long. Don't let that go. You got it down pat. You clearly were talking to your computer yesterday. Fine-tuning. Speaking of Hunter, Colorado coach Deion Sanders firing back at critics of the Buffalo's plan to retire the jerseys of Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders this weekend. Regarding the sore subject, Sanders told reporters yesterday, quote, "This is the first time I've ever seen it sore. I don't know if you know it, but I think every jersey I darn near played in is retired, so I'm pretty familiar with this. It's never been sore." He also said this is about Shedeur, which I totally believe. I don't think anybody can gripe about the Heisman Trophy because there's apparently other famous Colorado Buffaloes who've been waiting to have their jersey retired, and now Shedeur is getting it right away.
These guys aren't waiting.
They are not waiting. And if the Heisman Trophy doesn't wait,
the school year isn't even over.
I know. And the Heisman Trophy winner, he's going to get his jersey retired, and nobody else who's waiting in line has a Heisman Trophy.
Can't you wait a little bit? I mean, anytime there's criticism against Deion, he plays the victim.
Sure. And it's Deion, so everything is 10 times more intense. The spotlight is brighter, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't matter what the rest of us says. He'll respond to like the media and create a war with them. But the ex-players have come out and said, huh?
Yep. Oh, yeah, there's famous former Buffaloes who are shaking their head. This is very much a CU against CU thing. This isn't CU against the world.
Right.
No, this is definitely people who've been in the program who are upset with this.
Who's that skier dude? Remember he couldn't get any money from skiing?
Yes.
Jeremy Bloom.
You know what he said?
Nice. He did not, but he could have. I bet he wishes he had. Why didn't I think of that? Notre Dame quarterback Steve Angeli was competing for the starting job in South Bend, opted to enter the NCAA transfer portal, leaving C.J. Carr as the Fighting Irish's starting quarterback for the season.
Now, he came in the game, didn't he? The final game.
Yeah, Angeli did play,
and he gave him a little boost.
Correct.
Can he go somewhere at this point and be the starter? Does he have to go to a quote-unquote lesser program?
So, to tell you how big Notre Dame is, we're my homeland. He came in the game, Angeli.
Jersey?
Raised in Westfield, New Jersey. He went to Bergen Catholic High School.
And is it because you saw it ended in an I, you thought, yep, this is worth a search?
Well, Notre Dame was, when I was a kid, but just that's the only team anybody ever paid attention to. College team, I'm talking about. It was all just dominant pros. I mean, I didn't really get into college football until I moved to California.
So it's not about Rutgers, it's not about Syracuse, it's not about Penn State.
Maybe Penn State a little bit with Paterno, but not compared to Notre Dame. And so I looked at him, like his name ends in a vowel. I thought, he's got to be, sure enough, Bergen Catholic. And my sister went to Morris Catholic, and what they have is Bergen County, and so the counties have
each county has one Catholic school? Is that the way it works?
Among others, but those are the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Bergen Catholic is a well known back there as a high level athletic school.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag RSL.
Real Salt Lake taking on Toronto tomorrow night. America First Field. Just had Pablo Mastroeni in the last segment. Toronto is winless. They had 4 points, and they did play to a 1-1 draw with Miami and Messi and all that. So they've played good soccer at times, but they are winless through 8 games this year, and they were winless in their last 5 last year. So they got to break out at some point, and RSL has to make sure that it is not tomorrow night. Pre-game 6:30 on the Zone. Kicks off at 7:30. Is this where you want it, or do you want to get into this later about you not being a big enough deal? You said we're going to get into it. I don't know if it was now or later.
It's now or never. No. But the Millers are going to announce their things. That's why you're all gussied up?
I do. I have to leave here and go down there at 10:30 for a press conference.
Oh, yeah, man. You got your cool pants on again like you had yesterday?
I have different pants on than I had on yesterday.
Oh, okay. He had his cool pants on yesterday. When soccer calls, he answers.
Oh, yours truly is also going down to this, but that's okay.
You've gotten out of all that stuff. Yeah. Other people have to go to press conferences, and we can't dress for radio, unfortunately.
Other people, you get to go to press conferences? I've gotten out of it.
Get to, have to. Yeah. You want to go?
I'm not invited.
Okay.
I mean, we'll get to it about being invited and not being invited. I know who's who, and I'm not who's who.
Will the Millers bring their trademark stability from the Jazz years to a team that has had pretty much constant change over the last...
They've trademarked stability?
Decade.
Wow.
And they had Jerry Sloan coaching seemingly forever. Didn't they have like 3 coaches in the whole time they owned the club? 30. Oh, no, because they had Frank, so they had
Jerry.
4. They had 4 coaches in 36 years. Well, you know Ty Corbin. You ate with Ty Corbin. You dined with Ty Corbin. You know Quinn Snyder because you had a conversation with him. This season's going to be interesting one way or another.
Well, I meant when I got here.
Oh, yeah, and it was Frank before that. So I think they had 4 coaches in 36 years. RSL has been averaging...
See, I don't remember when they took over and who was coaching is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it was Frank.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, it was Frank. I don't think they were here for the old Tom. Well, I mean, they were in town, but they didn't own the club when Tom Nasalki coached. Frank owned it when they took over.
When did Larry
when they
buy
owned
in?
it? But I want to say
That's what I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
I think it was 85 and 86 that he bought in.
And Frank was coaching
And Frank
then?
was the coach then.
Okay.
Yeah. So Frank to Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
To Corbin and Quinn. And to bring that stability, and this team has been turning over either the coach, the GM, or the ownership. Pretty much every year, one of those things changes. They've never been able to keep those 3 things together for 3 years and see what develops. It's always with the change.
But this ownership hasn't fired a coach.
No, but they fired a GM, and they only owned the team for 2.5 years.
Because I was going to ask you this very question, that Pablo doesn't seem like he's under the gun.
He shouldn't be. I don't think he is. And
yeah, but it's pro sports, man.
Well, right. And someone can. So from that perspective, yeah, I guess you're always under the gun because you're coaching professional sports. But to go beyond that and to say, have you heard anything that would make you think it? Have you seen anything that would make you think it? The answers to those are no. Now, it's pro sports, so you never know. I get that.
It seems like when we talk to him, he knows he has time to basically rebuild it.
No one in the organization will say this out loud. But
no one?
I believe
they whisper it?
Or
do you
they
have
might whisper it when I'm not
telepathic,
around. No one has telepathically communicated this to me either. But they obviously needed to replace the 2 guys who scored most of the goals for them last year. They maybe will replace one guy eventually. I mean, they bring in young guys who need time to grow into the role to replace Andres Gomez, who had the 13 goals, 9 assists. Dominic Marchuk is the guy who's playing that spot. And they haven't brought anybody in to replace Chicho. They're running a team out there that's way too young. Now, you could blame the coach for that. Certainly, we've seen it. To your point, it's pro sports. He could be blamed for that, but it'd be the wrong thing to do. They haven't paid the talent. They haven't paid the talent. But I think it's because the Blitzer group knew they were selling, and when people sell businesses, they like to cut expenses and make the balance sheet look better. I mean, you can't. I don't have a smoking gun to prove it, and I don't have a quote to prove it, but just the circumstances look like they didn't spend money on players, so it looked better when they sold the team.
Well,
they
why
knew
the
they were
heck's he
selling.
selling? Why did he buy it in the first place?
That's a great question. But they don't take questions, and they don't do interviews very often, and we'll see if they speak today.
Jerks.
There you go.
Gee.
Royals play the Chicago Stars tonight at America First Field. The Royals are winless. They are in last place in the 14-team league. But Chicago, 1 win, 3 losses through 4. So win this, get out of last place. First kick set at 7:30. Play-by-play coverage here on The Zone begins at 7. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
2. There's a rocket off the bat to deep right field, and Stowers is going to watch it fly. Another home run for Pavin Smith in this series. He's got 3 on the year, and the D-backs double the lead. It's 2-0.
3-2. Swung on. Ground ball up the middle. It is through. Base hit. Mastroeni will score. Here comes Julio around third. He'll score. Randy into second base. The throw not in time. A hustle double. Randy Arozarena. A 2-run single. The Mariners extend the lead. Welcome to Randyland.
Ryan Zefferjohn into pitch, facing Corey Seager in the first pitch. A swing and a high fly ball to center field. That one is back. At the track, Paris leads up. Out of here! Corey Seager leaves the yard to straightaway center.
Corey Seager, 427-foot home run. Texas Rangers beat the Angels 5-3. Dropped the Angels back to 500 at 9-9. We were talking attendance yesterday and how good it is in San Diego and L.A., and I looked up to see if they were 1-2, and look who the top 3 are. The Angels are right there. 3 teams averaging over 40,000 people. And the Angels, who struggled, 4-game losing streak, but at least they are 9-9 right now.
That's all well and good, but
how about your Diamondbacks, baby?
What about them?
Well, they won again. They're playing over 600 ball, which is the mark of excellence. That puts you right around that 97, 98 win territory, which is an excellent pace. And they're well over 600 right now.
And they're in fourth place.
They're in fourth place because the division's just stacked.
Especially with their best player out. But I want to... There was this... People need to know yesterday was a high-powered meeting that only the few select, the upper level of media got to go to. So, of course, DJ went. Of course, I wasn't invited. No. I mean, you really can't compare yourself to me, Yak. I mean, you'll get there in time. But, so you went, and that's why you had your fancy pants on. And
I thought they were cool. Now they're fancy?
No, I said fancy pants.
Now you did, but earlier it was cool. Who knows what they'll be in 5 minutes.
Spectacular.
Predict the next word, everyone. Write it down.
If it's you, it'll probably be outdated. But, I found out about this meeting, and I held my phone for like 24 hours straight, hoping they'd call me. But they didn't. I'm not a mover and a shaker. I'm not a power broker. You are. I'm just another guy. I'm a faceless dude in a crowd. So I didn't get to go. But it was about the soccer, and are we getting an MLB team? Give us the dirt. Give us the inside info that you are privileged to go to and find out.
I think it sits right where we've been.
Did they talk about it?
They did, yeah.
What'd they say?
It's they said the whole thing was off the record. So
it's off the record?
Yeah, that's what they said. I got there 3 minutes late. I left. I talked too long on the radio, and so whatever they said about that, they said it right at the start, and then later on they were. Steve Starks was talking about something. He said, "This is on the record."
Oh, what's on the record?
And the PR person there said, "No, it's off the record. It's on the table." And Steve said, "Oh yeah, it's on the table." Yeah.
Dang it!
Yeah,
you're even more in the know than I thought.
I think you knew everything that was said about it. I don't. And it didn't,
but I'm excited for that to happen. I want information.
Right. The commissioner said 2029. And he said that, when did he say that? It's been over a year now. Has it been 2 years since he said it?
I mean, I really don't give a crap that the Tigers beat the Royals.
He said it over 2 years ago, and I don't think there's anything that anyone thinks is changing the timeline. Vegas, they haven't started digging for that stadium yet. Break ground. But they had a couple weeks ago, there was a Clark County Commission vote or whatever. So it looks like it's going to happen in Vegas. And so the other thing they said is finish the thing in Tampa Bay, and that still looks complicated. The last story I read on it, it's like, well, They're going to redo the stadium, so that keeps them there 3 years, but there's no plan after that. And do they stay in St. Petersburg? They go across the bay to Tampa. Does a current owner sell, and does he sell to someone who wants to keep it there? Or does he sell it to someone who wants to move it? Nobody really knows how that's going to play out.
Rats.
I know. Salt Lake Bees beat the Sacramento River Cats 5-1. Game 4 in the series tonight. First pitch set for 7:45. Tony Parks is on the air at 7:30 with the pregame show. What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Patrick Manning is going to join us, managing partner of Black Desert Resort. That's at 8:30. And see, you are a big deal. You've golfed that course multiple times.
So has thousands of others.
I haven't been invited to. You have.
Invited?
Yes, invited. You've been invited to play.
Well, you chose not to go down. You could have played that day if you came down when we did the remote. I was out there by myself.
Oh,
you chose not to come down.
I couldn't come down, and you know that. I had other obligations here.
Hence, those obligations were more important than the obligation down there.
Jay Drew, BYU Cougars beat writer for the Deseret News at 9 o'clock. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next. Stay with us.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number of...
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real two-for-one. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com.
Don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Ticket Wednesday, you can win tickets to Daughtery, May 1st, The Complex. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com or listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. Question of the morning, how refreshing was it to hear the Utah hockey players come on our station and say how much they like living and playing here? Tony, extremely refreshing. They are a good group. I hope they keep the majority of them. They definitely made some huge moves forward. They just need to finish OT games, have a little better record at home, and they will be in the playoffs. It was a great season.
Well, they will keep the majority of them.
Yes, they will.
I don't think that's even a question.
Tony says it was great to hear. The future of the Utah Hockey Club, the Utah Mammoth, or the Utah Outlaws is bright.
The Mammoth. And away we go, whenever they decide to announce it, huh?
I would think that's the way this is going to go. I don't think I know anyone who thinks anything other than that. So if they go some other way, they'll really be zigging when everybody's zagging.
But how do we break that down into one syllable?
How will they shorten it? What will it be? The M's? That's what happened with the Mariners in Seattle. There was no way to shorten them, and they ended up being the M's.
No, you already got the M's. I don't want the M&Ms.
Everybody loves M&Ms. How do you not want M&Ms?
We already have that, so that's already taken.
It's taken. So what does that leave?
Yeah.
Bum, bum, bum.
Right. So what would it be if we shorten it? Because you know it's going to be shortened.
It usually is. The Mams?
The Moths?
The Moths? Those seem to be the options.
The Moths? Have to figure that out as it goes.
Is there any slang for the Dodgers? I mean, the Padres became the Pods to get that down to one syllable. Really didn't see that coming, but nonetheless, there it is.
Yeah, the winners.
Diamondbacks to the D-backs?
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers and Giants are pretty much the Dodgers and Giants. They didn't get shortened.
Yeah, but Giants is already shortened enough.
Giants. Still two syllables.
But it's already no, you just Giants. Just roll it. Just Giants. Frisco.
Melody, the feeling is mutual. I love having them here. That's a fun year to build on.
Really was. Outside of making the playoff, It just went about as well as it can go. The introduction to the community was sensational. I think it was 1 year ago today that it was the official announcement, because it was 1 year ago yesterday that they played their last game there on the campus of Arizona State. And I know some people that were really upset by it down there, as you would think. I mean, it's not like they had no fans.
Right.
And they'd been there for 28, 29 years, somewhere in there. And so that was emotional to see your team go. In hockey, it gives you some separation. Because if you're a hockey fan, you're cool. Because not everybody's a hockey fan. And everyone's looking for separation. You know, I wanted it yesterday. I so desperately wanted to be there and be listening to that off-the-record stuff about baseball. And all the people that were there, nobody's more of a baseball guy than me. And now I'm left wandering in the dark, wondering, what could have that off-the-record of information be? But no one will tell me because it was off the record, and you can't tell me. If only they would have trusted me. 32 years of labor in this media market and still nothing to show for it.
I think you have something.
Not what you have.
You don't have that.
And I can't buy what you have. That's the problem. So in that perspective, I have nothing. Because I can't buy. There's no way I can buy what you have. They personally called you to invite you. You wore your cool, fancy pants.
Yeah, it's cool and fancy.
Cool, fancy pants.
Yeah, and I was left to go home by myself on a rainy day. You know how depressing that was? And you were getting information on off the record on baseball.
That was.
Jeez, what a blow to my ego. Crushed again like a moth. Mosquito. Just smacked down, and you got to go. And you taunted me by wearing your fancy clothes. And I don't care about the soccer thing. You can go and you guys can suck up those soccer people all you want. That doesn't really do anything for me. But the baseball, man, I would have
The soccer
loved.
people are the baseball people, and the baseball people are the soccer people.
And I'm neither, so what's the difference?
You are baseball people.
Right, but not to them. They didn't even think to invite me. 32 years, nothing. And you, come on. These fingernails, just dirt underneath them of hardcore journalism. Well, I trimmed them yesterday.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yeah, that's metaphoric.
Good.
So you don't know how the great
ones
write.
The great ones with the metaphors and the similes.
Tried to teach you.
Yep.
So I'm excited for this team because hockey fans, they look at themselves differently. So do soccer fans too, but the majority of the people aren't soccer people, but they don't look at them like, oh, whoop-de-doo, you're a soccer fan. But everybody who's not a hockey fan looks at hockey people and thinks, man, that's really cool. I should get into that. They look like they're having a great time, and every time they show them, they all got the 16 ounces that they pay $22 for. Good times. And they give you two 20-minute intermissions so you can be more lathered up.
When we worked over there in the arena, the studio, a lot of you have probably been to games and walked past it. It's up on the upper bowl on the 5th level, and there was a cart and there was a sign on the wall, and we were walking out one day, and I don't know what we were talking about, what we were thinking out of the middle of nowhere, without looking, you just point your hand. That's amazing that people pay that. There's a sign on the wall. I forget what the numbers were, but it's like $15 for a beer and $8 for a soda or something.
Yeah.
You're like, that's amazing that people pay that. Just walk up, get 2 Cokes, drop $20.
That's part of the deal when you go to hockey. You got to get lathered up.
There you go. They do. You see people shotgunning beers on the Jumbotron during breaks in the action.
Yeah. So it went so well. The only thing that's left is to win, which ultimately is the most important thing. But it wasn't this year.
As long as they made progress.
And they won enough.
Right. They had to make progress, and they did.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, when you think about it, I think they made significant progress.
Yeah, I'd agree. And if they'd come in and had a 70-point season, had some backsliding there, then the vibe would be different.
But it wasn't that at all. And every time it seemed like they were kind of trending down, boom, they get back, and then they win.
And the fact that guys say how much they like living and playing here leads to the hope that they're going to bring in more good players who are going to like it and stay here. They're going to keep a core group together, have some consistency. You're always going to have some turnover on a roster that big. There's no way around that.
Armstrong is going to have to turn away free agents.
Sorry, guys. No more money, no more roster spots.
Right. He's just going to, no, we can't afford, not that we can't afford you, but we just don't have any room for you. This team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Western Conference Central Division National Hockey League. Sergachev. So Sergachev is a Russian dude here, right?
Right.
He's what, 28 years old, somewhere in there, 26, 27?
I think he just finished his 27-year-old season.
Yeah.
That's a ballpark. He's in his prime.
And so he's won 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay in 20 and 21. So he's been to the mountaintop. And he comes here not even a year. He's not even here a year. And he says, I can retire and live here. He's a Russian dude. He's thousands of miles away from home.
He's half a world away.
And he's talking about, and plus he's still got 5 years to play. Who knows, whatever he wants to do and whatever his health allows him to achieve in this game. But the point being is I don't think he's anywhere near retirement right now.
No.
I mean, so he's talking about at his age living here permanently. Oh my gosh. This is like a dream come true.
Couldn't write a better script.
Yeah.
It almost sounds too good to be true, and you wait for, okay, when does the other shoe drop?
In this case, I think it would be a skate.
Okay. When does the other skate drop?
When the puck drops.
Or never. Maybe it really is that good.
It is that good.
They're good. They're on their way up. They got a good core, and they're going to be able to add to it because a lot of people want to be here.
Sure, but that's not that. That's just the team, though. That's the team's the team. These guys are talking about the community. That's what they're talking about.
And people want that. The sports have become very transactional, and so to have players who live in the community, interact with people, you know them, you like them, it goes back to what you said about people want separation, and I had a guy tell me, yeah, my daughter lives in Holiday, and Sean Dursey moved into the neighborhood. He's a great guy.
I loved it. I love him to death.
Right away.
I only wish I could be younger, and so I could be friends with those guys.
They're too young for that.
Yeah, they are. I'd like to pound down some. I don't think they drink light beer. They're hockey players.
Two in tune with the body. It's the machine that earns all the money.
No, I'm saying they don't drink light beers. That's for lightweights.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Of course, you missed it.
I did.
No, they drink malt. That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah. That's what they're pounding down. No, they don't. They don't do
slap shot, just crushing the beer cans on their forehead.
I venture to say, even in St. Louis, there's not one hockey player who drinks Bud Light.
Even in St. Louis?
Yeah. Right.
Birthplace of Budweiser.
Right.
The Clydesdales.
They just don't do it. We should ask them when they get back. They got to go home in the summers now because some of them are so far away and they want to do that, sure. And they're so young. They're probably, a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, but their parents probably stand a good chance of being alive, their siblings and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be interesting to see if those folks start moving here. Because if somebody some of these kids are so young that they literally could be here another 10 years in this team, on this team, in this community.
Yeah, Cooler and Guenther.
Yeah.
Cooley and Guenther.
Well,
20 and 21.
Josh Doan is 23.
Josh Doan, yeah.
Yeah. And then would their family move, and because they tell them, well, all of a sudden would we have just an influx of Russians because the word gets out. Hey, come move to Salt Lake City. You'll love it.
One neighborhood full of Swedes, another neighborhood full
like
of
the old
Finns.
days.
Yeah. Another neighborhood full of Russians.
Yeah.
Josh Doan will be recruiting more people from Arizona. I think we already have a lot of people from Arizona here.
Some of the best.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, Patrick Manning, managing partner, Black Desert Resort. The LPGA Tour's coming to town. First weekend in May. We will talk with Patrick coming up in about 45 minutes right here on The Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
So Mike Budenholzer gets one season in Phoenix before Matt Ishbia and the leadership there say no thanks. What a weird place the NBA is.
Does it really suck, though, for Mike Budenholzer?
No, I mean, that's a great point.
Not a great future there in Phoenix. And get this, he will be paid $10 million a year from now until 2029 by the Phoenix Suns if he chooses to do nothing. How many of you out there
No way.
would like that situation? Does it really suck to be Mike Budenholzer
his
today?
contract?
I don't think so.
So
He's
gets
still owed
one.
for 4 more years for $10 million a year.
So that's guaranteed.
$10 million per year to do nothing but swim in his pool
of tears.
He can eat Cheetos on the couch for the next 4 years and gain like 500 pounds. He don't care. Mike Budenholzer is now retired.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
The band of the day today is Audio Slave, brought to you by Live Nation. For all the live events and concerts in 2025, check out livenation.com. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. There is so much going on right now. It feels like everything stopped, but that just means everything restarts again, PK.
Yeah, it's the news business, man. The news business in our case is sports, fortunately for us.
Lee Corso's retiring from ESPN's College Game Day. You ready for one last mascot head and a round of applause for 38 years of broadcasting? Started on the show in 1987, and he's going to do the opener this year as kind of the farewell show and step away at age 90.
Yeah, well, it was something that was entertaining. He added entertainment to it, and everything is entertainment. You turn on the TV, you turn on the radio, it's entertainment. And he brought the entertainment factor. Now, nobody really wants to say it, but clearly it got awkward at the end.
Yeah. He's 90.
It was cringy.
He's slipping. It was hard. Yeah.
It was tough to watch him. You felt embarrassed, and you felt like it was awkward. And Herb Street had to try to cover for him all the time.
Yep.
And I appreciate him and his friendship for the guy. That's great. But in the man's prime, I prefer to remember it that way. Not Willie Mays stumbling down the outfield.
Yeah.
I didn't know Willie in his prime, but that's the example. That he brought an entertainment factor that made the show fun.
Yep. You wanted to see it right before the games kicked off. Yeah. He'd put on the thing and turn to the crowd, and they'd either be super pumped because he picked the home team, or they'd be booing him like crazy because he picked the visitor. And it was hilarious.
Right.
It was ridiculous. You got the pick, which is what, that's that whole segment is about, their picks for the games, for whatever those are worth. He does that, and then the whole place blows up when he reaches for the headgear, especially if he reaches for one, taunts him, and then reaches for the other one. The place would just reliably go insane.
Yeah. The anticipation of what headgear. Oh.
There it is. So it's all over for Lee Corso. Week 1, which Utah-UCLA is a good game, but I don't know what game they're going to go to, but it's not the game.
I think probably Florida State is playing somebody.
Florida State's playing Alabama. That's a big one. Ohio State's playing Texas. That's a big one.
We have Notre Dame, Miami.
That's a Fox game because Texas is at Ohio State.
Right. So it's got to be the one of their own.
Clemson's got a big game that week too.
They've gone when they've not had the broadcast.
They could go, but since they have
a lot of them, they'll pick some.
They have 2 other.
Well, doesn't he have a Florida State background?
I associate him with Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana is what I.
Right, but doesn't he have a Florida State background?
I think you're right. I think he did play at Florida State.
Oh.
I mean, he can have more than one background.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's what it'll be, and
yeah, LSU's at Clemson. That's another big game on that opening weekend.
That's huge.
I think Alabama, Florida State's bigger. I would bet they're there. Yeah.
Ooh, Alabama, a lot of pressure on that DeBoers because that wasn't a very good season relative for Alabama standards.
That does not meet Alabama standards.
Not at all. At all.
Not at all.
They asked Nick Saban about that season. You know what he said?
What?
Just waiting for it.
Can you make that a drop, Yuck? Because we're going to need that.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
No, not him. The actual drop from the coach.
Oh, yeah, I can pull it.
What drop?
Yeah, pull it.
What drop?
Fran Brown saying it.
We didn't say it. I said it.
Oh, well, then we have to use him.
What do you want?
I was going to say,
I was just continuing what he wanted to say.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, then you just pull PK. Don't make. I don't think
that's
you can do
why
it.
I counted down.
Yeah, I don't think.
I got
just
it.
Go back to the segment and do it. He already did it.
I was on board.
You can't find the first segment.
No, I want an ice. Hey, the first segment will play music underneath it, so that's the problem.
That's the thing.
So that's
your technical awareness, rock solid, Yak. All right, I'll quiet down. Go ahead.
3, 2, 1.
But you're faking drops.
Well, he doesn't want the music in the
I
background.
know, but you can't fake drops. That loses its... I'm not fake. You're fake. I'm not fake.
Okay.
I'm who I am.
Kettle, pot,
I'm
kettle.
not fake. You're fake. You're image conscious. I don't care about image.
Yeah, well,
I don't care about image. I
Okay.
couldn't care less about image. If you insinuate that I am into image, I will kick you in the chops, just like that one time. Oh, he almost kicked you. No, did he make contact when he kicked you?
No, he did not. No.
Okay.
Pulled back, started forward, and boom.
Because as Scotty G knows, you never let that go.
No, absolutely not. That was outrageous. I cannot believe this is happening. How much does he hate me? Let me count the ways. But he actually did not follow Mike Weir's advice. What was Mike Weir's golf advice to you? Commit to the swing. He didn't commit. Pulled. I probably shouldn't be doing
When I
this.
played golf with Mike, he told me that. He probably wouldn't remember if I brought it up to him, but he said that to me. It seemed like 20, which is probably...
He probably didn't say it to you more than once a hole.
Oh, no. Yeah, which he didn't. He didn't say it every hole. But I bet he said it.
But it had the impact.
I bet you he said it 5 times.
Yeah. Commit to the swing.
And when I was playing with him, I was just soaking up everything.
Sure.
To try. I'm playing with a Masters winner. I just wish my father would have been alive. I would have. I would have called him on the course.
Think of the levels. Think how excited you would be to play with a touring PGA pro, right? With someone who had a card. You would have a level of excitement for that. Now, think of the level of excitement it had if you're playing with someone who has a PGA Tour card and has won multiple times on tour. That'd be a whole nother gear, right? You'd already be excited. Now you're playing with a guy who's won a major championship.
And not just that, to me.
The Masters.
Yeah.
He has a green jacket.
Right.
He's not allowed to take off the property, unfortunately.
He is in that Tuesday dinner for the rest of his life, health permitting.
Yeah.
What a club to belong to. I couldn't imagine a cooler club. There's not a cooler tradition in sports.
There's Nicklaus, there's Player, there's Tiger.
Now Rory.
There's Rory. There's Phil. I mean, right down to just checking boxes. Phil, yeah.
Yeah. That I don't think there's a cooler tradition. I believe that. I can't think. There's stuff that's really cool. You know, the cup being tossed around and blah, blah, blah.
The Stanley Cup when every player gets it for one day.
That's great. That's great. But this is as cool as could be.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week. And it's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. DJ, it was meant to be.
What was meant to be?
Because we just got done talking about me golfing with Mike Weir, and the man was in the building as we were talking about it, and I'll let you take it from here.
Staying on the subject of golf, Patrick Manning joins us, the managing partner of Black Desert Resort. This is very disorienting. I can't look at you and see snow-capped peaks behind you. I'm supposed to see Red Rock behind you. What are you doing at this end of the state, Patrick?
Oh, it was so much fun. I just left OC Tanner, where they knocked it out of the park again.
Oh, the trophy?
The trophy. Picked up the trophy, going on a little, let the trophy get a little media attention today. And but it is beautiful.
Yeah, that trophy, I remember with the men, I did a little piece on it for KSL. We went one of those luxury areas. I don't know which net, the first one, the one that's closest to the first tee there. And we put it on, and you were there. I talked to you. I interviewed about it, and then the OC guy, and it was they did it to make it reflective of the state, if I remember correctly, right?
It has the topography of the actual Black Desert,
right?
The lava flow.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Not so much the state, but rather like
the
Black
area.
Desert.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rather than the state, then that part of the state is what I meant.
Yeah, I wish I could show you the trophy right now, but you'll see it soon enough. It is one of the most beautiful things I've seen.
Gold, silver,
it's
copper.
We paid homage to the men's trophy.
Okay.
We just softened it up a little bit to be a little bit more feminine, and it's OC Tanner did a fantastic job. I can't really describe it.
Okay,
but it's beautiful.
We'll wait for the photos.
All right.
We'll wait for the photos. Wait for the video. You've got a million things to do. 2 weeks to the tournament. How different is this than putting on the PGA tournament? How much does one set you up to run the other? And what are the differences between the tours?
Well, I think you all know I've been a broken record on how much I want to take care of the women and make sure we elevate that tournament and their experience. And, so it really hasn't. I was told early on it's hard to put on a men's tournament, and it's not as hard to put on a women, and we weren't going to have that. We wanted to be really hard to put on a women's tournament. So, but I think that first tournament gave us a lot of confidence. We have a fantastic tournament team. Our emergency services, police department, fire department, and the cities surrounding us are all in on helping make it smooth. The first one went so well that we kind of relaxed on the second one, not because we're not going all in, but because the confidence was there from the first one.
Yeah, and I think that for folks who are excited about the men, I think they should be just as excited about the women because, I've covered women's golf many times. I've played with high-level women, and they're awesome, and they're just tremendous players. I mean, they can – if you're into golf in the way I am, the way we are, as far as shot making and how to just create a shot that you're looking for, given the fact, you're 100 yards away, 150 yards away, you got this, you got to worry about that, you got to worry about. It is really magnificent to watch them to be able to control and maneuver the ball. So just from the golf standpoint, I think this is going to be darn near just as good.
Well, yeah, like I told you on the way up on the elevator, I think the pace of play is going to be substantially faster than the men because I doubt the women put 200 balls into the lava.
As the men did.
That's right.
200, huh?
Something like that. 200 penalty shots, like the most ever.
Wow. There's no coming back from that. We're watching the Masters, and you see guys walk under trees and all that. There's no point in trying to get that ball and play it out of the lava. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, the other thing is the women are just so appreciative and gracious with the fans, and they appreciate all that we're doing. It turns out we needed to send 7 jets to Houston to pick them all up and bring them here, and the +1, and staying at the resort for free. And that led to, of a 144-player field, we have 198 entries. And so people were wanting to play this tournament, come see it. Most of them weren't even talking about the Jets as much as they saw it during the PGA tournament. They're like, "This is unbelievable! I gotta go play this."
Yeah, I have had several people. I golf in St. George fairly often, as you know, and I've been paired up with people. My wife and I, she's a golfer, that you get to talk, and where you're from. I'm from wherever. New York, I think, was one. And we're always curious, well, how'd you find out about this St. George? When we say this place, we mean this whole St. George area. And we've had more than a few say, I saw it on television, the golf tournament. And that made me think, okay, that's a golf area. I want to go and check it out. And we had talked about it you and I, long before the tournament, that it was going to be something that was going to be played out visually on television with HD, and we're going to see that massive red rock, a snow canyon, and you feel like it's a 9-iron away, and it's going to draw people in. What knowledge have you gained as far as being able to say it has created this much interest in the community based on those 4 days of golf?
Well, for a resort as young as we are, we open literally the first day of the PGA tournament. It's amazing to see us at regular times be 100% occupied. And, of course, we have a lot of conventions coming there, a lot of weddings coming to Black Desert. But I would say the majority of people are traveling in as buddy groups, men or women, flying in just to play the course. And so I guess I can drop this number. NBC told me that the PGA was viewed in 226 countries and 541 million households tuned in. They speculate that the word got out about you got to see this place. And I love it that the PGA Tour said, we are accused of putting on an AI tournament. Like it wasn't real.
You have individual stories that have backed that up, because I was talking with you when I was down there last time, and I was saying, I went in to get something to eat, and I talked to the people next to me, and they were from Albany, and then you just immediately topped it. Albany's not exotic enough. So where have you talked to people from?
Well, the one you're talking about is I was standing in the pro shop, and this guy was just not mad. He was just upset because he couldn't play. He had flown here, booked a hotel room, and just for some reason didn't think that he would need a tee time in advance. And so we just can't get him out, right? So as I'm talking to him, I said, "Well, where are you in from?" And he said, "I'm here from Luxembourg. I saw it on during the PGA Tour." I was like, "You're here from Luxembourg?" He said, "Yeah." I was like, "Come on, man, we're gonna get you on."
Yeah, really.
So
squeeze you in.
Yeah,
one way or another.
There's a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, there certainly are, and I witnessed it myself, and still have, and probably still will going forward. And there's no doubt I will. As I was walking the course those 4 days, many, many people that I knew personally or know of me because of the job called out my name, and we talked, and it was largely folks from northern Utah. So there was a lot of foot traffic. And I assume there's going to be a bunch of people from here that'll go down there again, and there'll be a lot of foot traffic. What changes have you made, or improvements maybe might be a better word, to facilitate? Because I'm sure it was basically almost like a trial run of what you guys were doing, and it might look different. Speak to those.
Yeah, I mean, the things that went right, parking, A+, the shuttling, the traffic mitigation, everything, all that was an A+. I think the overall fan experience, golfer experience was pretty close to an A+. Where the frustration from our standpoint, and probably from the fans, was that pinch point on hole 1 and 10.
Coming up the hill.
Yeah, coming up the hill. It was hard to get through there. It's not like every other golf tournament doesn't have some kind of pinch point.
Sure. Yeah.
But that was the only one that we really were concerned with. And so we moved some tee boxes around, added a couple things, and now we fixed that, and that won't be a pinch point anymore.
So the flow of traffic will be smoother.
Way smoother. We were kind of trying to hit over the road and just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
And didn't realize how much of a bottleneck that would create.
Oh, so did you move that tee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've moved the tee boxes so that we'll get flow of traffic through.
Excellent. The only other thing that hit me about the course is that I was trying to walk it and see guys, and basically I was trying to find out, where the most guys can hit the ball in the lava, because I want to watch the most craziness possible. And there were about 3. It wasn't all of the holes. Some holes, like, you go to the green but not to the tee, and some you go to the tee and not the green.
Sure.
And then some holes were completely off limits just because lava and where can the spectators be, and so are you going to be able to open up that part of the course, or it really does come down to the lava and there'll be a couple holes that you just can't go to?
Yeah, so we can do anything, right? But it's really important to us to protect the lava, open it up for trails for the public, and I love the lava. So we were able to surgically put cart paths and fairways and everything into real strategic spots along the 600 acres. But down there where you're talking about 5, 6, 7 a little bit. The T of 7 can't get to. We calculated the amount of lava that we would have to destroy, in order to have spectators hit those 3 holes. And I'd rather inconvenience the spectators just a little bit more than destroy 30 acres of lava flow that is pristine right now.
Okay.
So I always thought it was holes 5 through 8. So you're saying it's 5 through 7. That will be off limits again. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So specifically, you can watch people tee off at 4.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you stop, and then you can catch them back up at the 7th green.
Yes. Okay. I couldn't remember the numbers, but I knew it was something like that. So 2 holes are off limits, and parts of 2 other holes.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
When these ladies come in and you talk about the free lodging, that is something that is unusual, correct?
Yeah, it's unusual. It's also unusual that there's not a spot in the tournament, even on the PGA Tour, that has a resort like we have, the size and scope of it, with a world-class golf course too, and all of it be on site, and it be a luxury resort. So the women, sometimes they'll get their hotels picked up, but it's 8 miles down the road at a select service hotel, and so they typically don't get a 5-star experience and be right there on the premises. And so, but they've got the same as the men have. They've got the 14,000 square foot player only dining, and their caddies have awesome dining and of their own. And there's nothing that the men got that the women won't have.
Right. And what was the feedback from the men on all that?
Oh, it was fantastic. There's a couple of quotes I'd love to give you that I can't yet, but because I'd be accused of hinting at things. But the men were saying that it's a world-class event.
Okay, well, I can think of 2 things that you could be hinting at, but I don't want to get you in trouble.
All right.
But it's got to have something to do with the quality of the field, whether it's a quality field in the fall or,
Yeah, lots of things in discussion.
Another time of year.
Right, lots of discussion.
I spoke to some workers there, because the workers are in the community, obviously, right? Yeah. Most of them, they live there. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, bumped into, but I've met a few, and they were telling me about some of the stuff that the guys, the PGA guys were doing, and basically the good time that they were having, like on Saturday night, including your winner. I heard a story about him.
Yeah, it was funny. Matt McCarty, that won the tournament, he after the trophy ceremony on the 18th green, a friend of mine called, and I had left the property, and he said, "You're not going to believe what Matt McCarty's doing." And I said, "What's he doing?" He said, "He's literally playing Black Desert on the TrackMan simulator inside the 20th hole sports bar."
Yeah.
Nice. You've got, were you excited to see him climbing the leaderboard at the Masters?
Oh, that was...
Yeah, you want your guys to do well, right? And he's your guy now that he won the first tournament.
That was so much fun. I'll admit, I was glued. I've never been so glued to a golf tournament as that one, just because he had just been at Black Desert for 4 days, chilling out.
He was on that conference call, and he spoke to that Zoom meeting I'm talking about.
That's right, with Charlie Hall.
Yeah. I got on that, and he was on there first, saying I think he might have even played it that day.
Yeah, he had. And but he came to Black Desert for 4 days and wanted to relax and get in a good headspace for the Masters. And he left. The last thing he said to me on the way out of the resort was, "I think I'm in a good headspace."
Whether it's preparation, whatever works, you keep preparing that way, or whether you're into the rabbit's foot and the good luck and your superstition and all that, he's going to be back.
That's right. You know what his rabbit's foot is?
What?
The whole what's in the bag.
Uh-huh.
It's the day that he was walking up to the 18th green during the PGA tournament, and he stopped on the side of the fairway and picked up a small lava rock, and that's been in his bag since.
Carries a little lava wherever he goes.
Yeah.
There were so many people, as I said, came down from northern Utah. Explain what's going on as far as them being able to get tickets and all that stuff and to be able to enjoy it firsthand in person.
Yeah, and I've got a little bit of news on that no one's heard yet. This will be the first stop. But yeah, blackdesertevents.com is where you can go to get tickets for really anything that we're doing at Black Desert, all events. There's general admission. We've still got the 15 green fan decks. That's Life Elevator for state of Utah sponsored that. The general admission tickets are, $50-$55, depending on, coming on Thursday and Friday or Saturday and Sunday. We've still got some VIP hospitality there on that super cool spot on the 16th green and the 17th green.
I spent some time there.
Yeah, and so that includes all food and beverage while you're there, and those tickets are $350, a little bit give or take depending on the day. But the new news is that we are really, really into supporting youth, not just in golf, but youth across all sports, arts for that matter. And we found a partner that feels the same, passion toward elevating youth. And so the Bank of Utah is buying the youth tickets. So 2 youth for every adult that buys a ticket. So, mom and dad, whatever, can bring 4 kids in, and they aren't paying for the 4 kids because Bank of Utah is buying the tickets.
Nice. So if you're looking for the old family plan, there it is.
Yeah.
So is that on your website?
It is.
Okay. So
just went up yesterday.
Oh, excellent.
I was down last week. My wife, school teacher, and so spring break. So we were down there the whole week, and we were going to ride bikes in Snow Canyon. So we're on that. Was it Snow Canyon Parkway? You come down and you go underneath the bridge there, and you come to the stoplight, and the grocery store's on the left, right? And so we're on that stoplight heading down. So yours would be up on the left a mile or so after you get past the circle. And I see 3 huge trucks that are coming whatever that road is, and they're going to turn left to get on the parkway. And I said to my wife, we're going to get behind them, and then we're going to see them go through the circle, and then we're going to see them veer to the left, and they're going to go into the property. And sure enough, 3 gigantic trucks. I don't know what they were carrying, but they were all 3 of them were just gigantic. And I said, yeah, they're doing something. That's where they're going. And so where I'm going with this is the amount of advancements that you make. If you're not down there, you're down there every day. I don't get down there every day, maybe once a month. And the place literally looks different every time I'm there. And there might even be a different entrance or exit or whatever. Talk about the progress that the property itself as a whole, golf course is what it is, but the property, it's just seemed like it's really coming along, and it's just amazing to watch it blossom basically out of the desert.
Yeah, we've got, we now have 7 restaurants open, a lot of progress every day. I think we have 6 months, we're not quite 6 months post PGA Tour. We opened that same day of the tour. 6 months later, I think we have an additional 225 rooms open, occupiable. That's moving pretty fast. Here in a couple of months, we're planning to, 2 to 3 months, we're planning on breaking ground on the, incredible water park that's going in on the property. And so there's a whole lot still to come. I mean, yes, it's going to be a construction zone, to a certain degree for the next 4 or 5 years, right, as we're building out, a lot more amenities and a lot more fun things to do. But there is a lot done, and there's a lot to enjoy right now.
And what's available to the public? Because I want to make sure that they understand not everything is you got to stay there.
That's great. I appreciate you bringing that up, PK, because that's one of the myths that I battle all the time.
Yeah, I've heard it myself.
Yeah, the golf course is open to the public. All the restaurants are open to the public. At our spa, when it opens in June, will be open to the public. And it's really, really important to us that this is, the people's resort. And that's why we call it luxury without pretense, or luxury your way. If you want to wear a collar or a sport coat or whatever and to go to Basalt, the steakhouse, or to putt around on the putting green, great. But if you're the type of guy that luxury to you is get out of the hot tub in your swim trunks in bare feet and putt around on a 2-acre putting green that's lit at night and music playing, and then that's luxury your way.
Yeah, that's DJ.
Agreed. How late is that putting green open? How late do you leave the lights on? Because it is near, homes that are off the property, but there's also a lot of people who are staying in the rooms right by there.
Yeah, what we typically do is somewhere around 10 o'clock. Okay. We watch to see what the crowd is like, and it's a really fun spot. But we've got the lights situated, so it creates a mild glow around the green. It isn't bothering people. I haven't had a single complaint from people that live nearby.
Are you prepared to talk about what you're thinking for the PGA Tour down the line? Because I don't know what you want to say. I've talked to you about this, maybe moving it, that type of thing. Where are you at with that?
Just conversations. We obviously want our tournaments, anything we do at Black Desert, we want them to be done at the highest level. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time.
Right.
Sometimes you'll never hear me say it's impossible, but
that word doesn't exist for you.
No.
That's one thing I learned.
Yeah. Let me just say that I'm confident we're going to continue to elevate both of these tournaments and continue to surprise people. We are definitely not done pulling off impossible things at Black Desert quite yet.
I'm curious about getting people to the property because obviously, as you just referenced, working with the neighbors, making sure you're a good neighbor, minimizing all the headaches and that. And I was stunned at the traffic because I was staying across town. I left extra time to get there because I've driven to sporting events my whole life, and that's just what you do. Mm-hmm. And I just went straight in, and there were no issues. And when I was talking to those people I was telling you about from Albany, I'm like, how do you get here from Albany? And she said, well, Albany's not that big. It's more like a regional airplane. The one place you can go is you can go to Vegas, and then they did a golfing vacation. They're like, oh, we played in San Diego. And I'm, where in San Diego? And they literally played at a course like 5 minutes from where I grew up. Mm. And they did this circle around. So I'm curious, when you're bringing people in internationally, nationally, are you finding that people are flying straight in there? Do they fly into Vegas or Phoenix and drive up? And how does all that work as far as whether they're staying on your property or they're staying somewhere else in town and go into your property and you got to worry about traffic flow and manage that? How do you manage and plan for all that, or just wait for a pain point to pop up and then try to adjust?
No, I think we thought through this over the last 15 years on how to make this work. To answer your first question, it's a pretty even mix. There's a lot of people flying into St. George directly, or you know what I mean, maybe through a connection, but flying in directly into St. George. Obviously, I think most of the people are flying into Vegas, and they drive up and do that little, golf tour, if you will. Whether they're staying on property and, it's pretty easy to get people around, or they're coming in because they're staying off property, bringing a car in. Everything from valet to golf concierge is all pretty dialed, and we just don't – I don't know if you've seen anything. I'm there every single day, and we just don't have any congestion on – the parkway or in the resort.
Well, I've covered the Waste Management Open. And
that's a different animal.
You want to talk about congestion. Oh, my goodness. If you want to see somebody tee off at 10, you better be on the road at 7. And that's not I'm not exaggerating. I mean, and that's with media parking that is still at as much closer than the fields 3 miles away that they bus in all the spectators. And I got to say, I can follow up with what DJ was saying. To me, it really was remarkable. It was just like another day, essentially, and you just pull right in. And I don't know how you pulled it off. I still don't know how to. I don't know how you pull. I still don't know how you pull it off. But having covered the Phoenix Open many times, and this one, it was just truly night and day. Yeah. And obviously there wasn't the same amount of people. I understand that because they go nuts, and actually they're reining it in. They went too nuts.
Right.
And that was what was good about yours. And there was that bottleneck that you talk about, but I knew you guys would take care of that. But the way people can get around, it was so much more, I guess, accommodating and so much easier that I think it really adds to the fan experience.
Yeah, no, that's really more important to us than numbers. I mean, what is the fan experience when they're there versus we can tout that we had 150,000 people there? I don't really care about that.
Right, and that's too much anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you could walk the course, even with the limitations of the fuels we talked about, and I found that wherever I was, I had a good view, whether I was watching somebody in the fairway, I was around the green. It wasn't a case of where, oh, no, I'm in the 8th. I mean, I am taller, so I can see over people, but it was never – we were never 5 deep. People were spread out on the course.
Yeah.
So – Did you just get that? Was he height shaming you?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that too.
Yeah, I was going to call him out. But you beat me to
it. The two Patricks, excuse me, in the room aren't exactly giants here. Tall boy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah. Thanks. All right. You got time to stick around? You got to hit the road on your media tour.
I'll look at the schedule.
Okay. Patrick Manning may or may not be back. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I loved what he said about Isaiah Collier.
Conditioning has to become a superpower.
His speed is so crazy. It is so good, but you have to be able to use it for 40 minutes a night, 35 minutes a night. It's why Russell Westbrook's going to the Hall of Fame. Russell Westbrook is a crazy athlete, has crazy speed like Isaiah Collier, can't shoot a lick like Isaiah Collier. He might have the best motor I've ever seen. He plays hard every single possession. If Isaiah does that alone, he has a chance to be a good NBA player just because he can be faster than everybody longer. And that's a real skill, end to end. end, he can be faster than everybody else for a longer stretch of time.
And then we have to continue to refine his shooting.
If he adds that off-the-dribble three-point shot, which is what he also mentioned there, if you can knock that down at 32%, 33%, you're at least passable. And I think that will keep him in the league.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Well, it turns out Patrick Manning had to go, PK.
He did, yeah.
He's off to the next of his six-stop media tour. Managing partner of Black Desert Resort was in here. The LPGA Tour is coming to town May 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can get your tickets online at Black Desert's website. And you got the family plan out there with the Bank of Utah picking up the kids' portion of the tickets. Nice. And you can find that online, all the details on that. But if you got the young golfer, assuming they don't have a tournament or a competition of their own. But if you got time to take them down and watch it, because it's like what you said, the LPGA Tour, it's the level of play, the quality you're going to see.
Oh, it's premier.
Yeah. Elite.
Yeah.
Watch them hit greens and watch them putt. Awesome.
One of the things that bugs me against women's sports is you'll hear, oh, well, that high school team of boys could beat that college team or that pro team. And it drives me nuts. I hate to hear that because no kidding. They're bigger and stronger. That's like saying, they never say, if a 14-year-old boys team wins a whatever, they never say, well, yeah, the 18-year-old boys team would kick the crap out of them. Of course they would. And so don't say that. That right. Just drives me crazy when I hear that. That is not a fair and realistic comparison. We get it. A 6'4" woman is tall in basketball, but not tall in basketball for men. And we understand all that. But the thing about the golf is you don't really say that. If there ain't no 14-year-old who's gonna, or 12-year-old, compete on the LPGA Tour unless they're really, 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 really special. These women, they're really good.
Elite.
Yes.
If they showed up in your Saturday foursome, you would
kick the crap out of me.
You'd be stunned, shocked, and amazed.
I've played with college golfers, females. I've played with pros. Yes, and there's no apology. There's no yeah buts. They're super good.
They're really good. Really, really good.
Yes.
May 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We're going to have Jay Drew on talking BYU, Cougar beat writer for the Deseret News, talking about BYU, the transfer, Rob Wright III. He's written stories. CBS has a story out there. You posted quotes. And we're all trying to figure out in this era of college basketball, how much money are these schools spending? How much money does it take to compete at what level? You know, do you want to be a winning team? Do you want to be a team that goes to the NCAA tournament? Do you want to be a team that goes deep in the tournament? And they've got a story out on the $10 million teams and the $8 million teams. And how do you get players in the transfer portal and all that? And in the CBS Sports story, I'm just going to read part of this quote, talking about Rob Wright III. He signed a deal comfortably worth more than $1 million to return to Baylor during conference season. Then BYU found him a few weeks ago, offered to double his earnings potential, and Wright was off to Provo, nary a penalty for breaking his deal with BYU. Quote, "We are dealing with real live sharks," close quote. One head coach not affiliated with either school said.
Move over, Greg Norman. The Cougars are sharks. Now, I want to make sure, because I've taken some heat for this.
For what?
That we talk about it, BYU fans actually think you're against it.
I'm not against it.
And neither am I.
I think it's the world. Once you decide to play in the Big 12, the Godfather quote, "This is the business we chose. This is how it works. You will lose players to real-life sharks, and you will get players if you're a real-life shark." It is on at the Power 4 level. I would argue it's on even at levels below that, But Utah and BYU are, I think in the Mountain West, I think it's on for Utah State. The money's at a different level, but as far as the shark behavior, it's happening. They're just not the great white sharks. Maybe they're hammerheads or something.
Well, they used to be at BYU, but not anymore.
Hey-oh.
Those 11 sharks up there in Logan.
I don't think it's unsavory for a church-affiliated school to do this, so I want to put that out there. And I know there's some folks who just anything you say that isn't BYU's the greatest, the most perfect thing in the world, they take offense to. I understand that, and you can continue to do that. But I want to make sure you understand I don't have a problem with this. But the thing that I still don't understand is why the church commissioner dude keeps telling us this isn't happening when it's happening.
I don't know. All I can think is it's not how it was for a long time. He liked how it was, and he wants it to still be like that. Other than that, I can't come up with a plausible explanation.
Sure, and I liked Happy Days, and I wish that could be that way in the 50s.
Yeah, I hear you.
No,
it's not. It's not like that. And if you don't do this, there are so many examples, and we're talking about Rob Wright III because he's here, but there's so many examples. But San Diego State, when we were talking about them this year, and you said they're not what they were, and they weren't. And their leading scorer, who should have been back and helped make them what they were, instead of one of the teams in the mix, make them the big dog that everybody's chasing in the conference, and then instead of trying to get to the tournament, be able to get to the tournament and win instead of getting blown out in a play-in game. But they lost their leading scorer to Kentucky. Mark Pope's a shark. Well, guess what? If Mark Pope's not a shark, he's going to get fired at Kentucky. Of course he's a shark. And as a San Diego State fan, you want to complain about it? But come on, how many transfers has San Diego State had in the last 10, 15 years?
Well, that's how they built their program when they got the arena
had a ton
with
of them.
the transfers.
You can't start complaining about
the program took off.
Somebody thought San Diego State and Fisher was a shark back in the day. And it's not just them. How many transfers have we seen at Gonzaga?
Except BYU is the church connection, though.
Okay, yes.
And so they keep San Diego State doesn't tell you we are different.
Right.
They don't say that. No,
right, but
we're
you can't,
one of a million.
100%. And I can't argue with that because you're right. But BYU can't be that. If you're going to compete in the Big 12,
tell you that.
Yeah, well, stop saying it because you have to compete like everybody else, and you have to be a shark, and you can't think that it's unseemly to pay somebody a lot more to get them because that's how you get them. If you don't get them, and if you don't get them, you lose. Did you? I mean, you could live up to that image, the Happy Days, 1950, and all that. And if that is how you run the program, you got a great chance of going 3-17. You got a great chance of being the Big 12 doormat. And you can do that if you want, but you just got to know that's what comes with that. Well, then you're the doormat. And other teams come into Provo, they get their W, and they think, whew, road wins are hard to come by. We're glad we got this one, and they get out. But that's what happens if you don't do this.
The problem for BYU is they're trying to downplay the "you will not outbid us" quote. And what they don't understand is the more you resist it, the more you make it a story.
That is true.
Just let it go.
That is often true, and we've talked about that
with
many stories.
It's out there.
Yes.
And you're not changing the perception of the national people who think that you're buying players. Let it go. Don't keep talking about it. Don't put out things that we will not be the highest bidder. Okay, that's fine. You're not the highest bidder, but you're still higher than most folks. And Rob Wright, yeah, he's going to come for the development. That I believe in Kevin Young 100%. I think this guy is amazing, and he's going to do amazing things, and his plan and his blueprint for success is going to work. Fine. And so you're going to come for that. But to think that Rob Wright or his father, because Rob Wright apparently knew nothing about this, he was completely in the dark, and fine, I'll just take it at his word. But his father and his agency are over there, and according to CBS Sports, not according to DJ and PK, according to CBS Sports, BYU doubled his money after he made a commitment to Baylor.
Also, according to CBS Sports, and I'll post the story so you can read this deal, that BYU is in college basketball's $10 million club. It is a select club. CBS reports that there are, they say, based on a variety of sources, schools believed to be operating in the golden tier are Arkansas, BYU, Duke, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisville, Michigan, North Carolina, St. John's, and Texas Tech.
Sweet.
I thought there'd be more SEC schools. Now, they also list
it's
somewhere
basketball.
else.
It's
Right.
not football.
Yeah, I know, but the SEC schools won. But they also did a group of $8 million schools, and Houston was in that group.
Of course
and
they
that
were.
group was pretty big, and there were a lot of SEC schools in that
Yeah,
group.
of course they were.
Yeah.
Kyle Whittingham told us 2-3 years ago that the top 25 is going to mirror the top 25 NIL. That's where we're going.
Yes, he
BYU,
did.
you're in the 10 million club. Your fans love it. I love it. It's a story. I want them to be in the $10 million club. I don't want them to lose. I want more stories to talk about. And I want DeBonsa to come here. I'm looking forward to next season. What they need to do is just let it go. And we get that there's the spiritual component and all that stuff. And that's great. But there's still, the money is there too. And yeah, Yegor could have gotten more money. But I think there was a different thing there with him, with the connection with Travis Hansen, and plus he knew he was going to go to the NBA. Mm-hmm. And the money, whatever money he was making now was nice, but the real money, the big time, the generational money is going to come here in the next 1 to 10 years, and he's going to just roll in it, essentially. So for BYU, just roll with it, man. Nobody's criticizing you that you're buying or paying for players, or your collective people or the tech people are. It's not really BYU, but yet Andy Toulson tells us that, I know I don't deal with the coach on the money. I deal with the GM or the director of basketball ops or the associate athletic director. So the school is involved, and don't try to separate it like it's some Joe over here and the BYU folks have no idea what's going on. You do, and just roll with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's saying you're doing anything illegal, but stop trying to tell us that it's not that big of a deal, because it is, and more power to you. Way to go. I applaud you.
If you're going to play with the big boys, you got to pay with the big boys. And there's a reason BYU is in the Sweet 16. And though there's a reason that there's hope and expectations that they're going to do better than that here in short order, whether it's next year or the year after, whatever. Soon.
I think they will.
Soon, right?
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK. More on this with Jay Drew coming up at the top of the hour. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G,
the general manager.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G,
the general manager of the Utah Hockey Club, Bill Armstrong.
Clayton Keller, he can keep up with anybody on the skate. I know that center position can be so difficult. I want to know, what is the next step for Clayton Keller?
He's got a lot of things that you love about him, but he's a hockey kid. And when I say that, he's going to take 1 or 2 days off and he's going to be back on that ice working on his game. And that's the beauty of Kells, is that he's all about improvement. He's all about getting better, hiring shooting coaches, stick handling coaches, and skating coaches in the summer. Like, he's addicted with it. And a lot of the guys around him, like Cooley and Guenther, are much the same. So I imagine, in the summer we go back and the guys are going to become 10% better around him. That's going to help him too. And I have a feeling that he can take that step. And also, who knows what the points will be at the end of the day. They'll lie where they should, but he's going to give us a chance to get into the playoffs next year and do some damage.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. That CBS story that you were talking about with those quotes, PK, that you posted a quote on Twitter. I posted the whole story. Go read it. It's got the list of teams that they believe are in the $10 million club. It says in there's another 20 teams that are between $7 and $9 million. If you're in a power league and you're at $3 or $4 million, they say you're in trouble. And that there are mid-tier schools that are operating with $2 million worth of money. And obviously through automatic bids, these mid-majors have a chance in their respective conferences to get in. Their chances of getting an at-large bid, as we've seen, are dwindling. They're not completely gone, but there are not many there.
I don't know that that's really changed much. I think it's
I think the math says it's only changed a little bit.
Yeah, BYU's in the club, and they weren't.
Yes, they are in the club.
And that's it.
And the Mountain West still got 4 teams in,
right?
Which historically I think it's been more of a 3-bid league, so that was a good year for them. I do think below them, the A-10 might be getting squeezed a little bit, the American.
And Arizona pumps a ton of money into their program.
So they're if they're not in the club, they're in the next
and
tier.
ASU pumps nothing in.
And there you go.
Yeah.
So Arizona's
been that way forever.
They didn't list the 7 to 9 million teams, but I bet Arizona's in that group,
Yeah.
and I bet ASU isn't, and that's what they're getting at.
I guarantee you they aren't.
ASU's in the
They
$3
don't
million.
care.
They're in the $3 million club.
They don't care. I don't care. And the Arizona, we know of the Utah people told us they had a player in their program ready to come. And this was several years back.
No, it was a decade ago.
And then Arizona came in and gave them the money.
Bang!
This is right from their own mouths.
Yep. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Jay Drew, Cougar beat writer for the D News, joins us next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We are joined once again by Jay Drew, BYU Cougar beat writer for the Deseret News. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. Rob Wright III. It never really stops, does it? There used to be an off season for beat writers. What happened to that? That's old school.
I don't know. We used to I used to always look forward to the end of the Masters. Like you'd have the end of the March Madness, and then you'd have the Masters, and then it would be like, nothing really going on for a little while. But yeah, the things have changed, obviously.
So you did the piece, and he's insisting he had no idea that his money got doubled. I assume you saw the CBS Sports piece where they wrote that Wright committed to sign to return to Baylor for $1 million, and then BYU came in and doubled it. And there's a quote from some unnamed coach was something like, "We're dealing with sharks." Did you see that?
We are dealing with real live sharks, close quote.
Are you aware of all that?
Yeah. I saw that. BYU's in the top 10 or teams that they believe have spent $10 million on NIL. Yeah, I saw that. It's interesting. I don't think it's a shocker. I mean, obviously they spent a lot of money on Damon.
AJ.
And also on AJ. And I know Richie Saunders is getting a good deal, and I know, that Dallin Hall was making. I'm not saying he's making $1 million, but he was making, a pretty good amount. So yeah, it's not a surprise.
The thing that I don't understand is I get that there's other stuff out there that makes you want to go to BYU. I think Kevin Young did a phenomenal job, and he'll only get better from there. And the future there looks very, very promising. But now that we have the CBS Sports story, I'm expecting another tweet from the commissioner saying, the church commissioner dude, that, we don't pay top dollar.
Stop. Please stop.
I get there, and they're trying to downplay "you won't outbid us," which is now an infamous quote. Why not just let it go? They're not breaking any rules. I support it. Great. I'd much rather have A.J. DeBonsa be in Provo next season, because the Jazz are probably going to suck again. Who wants to talk about them getting beat and all that stuff? I want to talk about winners. It's way more fun. And so just roll with it. It just seems like each time they come out and try to downplay it, it backfires.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. There's obviously been kind of a push, even reaching out to the media and trying to kind of move the narrative in a different direction.
Yeah, get your in-house media to tweet out that, oh, no, that's not true. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's, I can't speak for BYU, and their PR and all that, but, I just, I've talked to enough of them to know that they're uncomfortable with that, even though they're not breaking any rules, as you said. There's just some sort of where I guess they're kind of walking with trepidation into this whole new era of college sports, the transfer portal. It's basically pay to play now.
Right.
They're they're really professional athletes, at least in the major sports. So, I can't speak for them, but I do recognize that you're right, that there is some hesitancy on their part, even though they're all in. It's obvious that they're all in.
And what's wrong with that?
Not wanting to acknowledge they're all in. I don't want to be put in a position where I'm trying to defend them, but I'll just acknowledge what you what you said. That, yeah, I agree. That's kind of looks like that's what's going on.
I think that is what has to go on. That same story says the teams that are at 3 to 4 million are in trouble. There's another group of 20 schools that are in the 7 to 9 million range, according to the same reporting in the same story, and there's the 10 schools at 10 million. Well, you didn't get into the Big 12 to be the last place team and only win 2 conference games. If you don't pay the money, you're going to get drilled. Kids are clearly going for the biggest check, and why wouldn't they? It's life-changing money, and by the time they're 22, they could be done. If they can't make the NBA, the gravy train stops. I mean, you can go to Europe, and there's all kinds of crazy stories. You got to live halfway around the world. So take the money now, because this is truly a short-term opportunity for most of these players. Depending on how much eligibility left, it's a 1 to 4 year deal. So why not take the money? Why wouldn't BYU play it? They didn't get in the Big 12 to finish last. It's just, aside from the image stuff, to me, this all makes perfect sense. Everyone's behaving exactly as you would expect.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be noted that this past basketball season, without NIL, without being able to go out and get Yegor Demon, without being able to go out and get Cannon Catchings, although he kind of didn't pan out at the end, they don't go to the Sweet 16. They don't have the season they had. They probably have just another, maybe make the NCAA tournament and they're out. I mean, obviously the guys they had improved a lot, like Richie Saunders and others. But you're right. They and I think getting a taste of it, which they did this past year with the basketball and also with the football, with what they did, winning the bowl game and only losing 2 games. I think it's only going to fuel that fire for BYU, and I think they're going to continue doing it, continue on the path that they are on, spending as much as anybody in the country, because I think once their fans and their boosters get a taste of it, it's just not going to go away. No matter what the administration says,
right.
I think there's too many powerful boosters that this is what they want, and this is what's happening.
Yeah, and I think it's great. I also don't discount the fact that Kevin Young is a heck of a coach, and he's built himself a blueprint and a system that's going to work. We saw maybe Richie Saunders would have blossomed if Mark Pope was here. I don't know, because there's no alternate universe. But what I do know is that Kevin Young, even if I remember correctly, before the season said he thought Richie Saunders was an NBA-type player, and then Richie Saunders clearly takes about 10 steps up in his game from his sophomore to his junior year. And I do know that Yegor, the stuff he said last week, I take it at full face value about drawing closer to God and all those types of things. I think they're important. I don't discount them at all, nor do I discount the NIL. So I look at BYU, they've got the full package, and if guys are willing to, I guess, do the honor code thing, it's a great place to be, and that should be celebrated.
Yeah, absolutely. And, getting back to, Robert Wright, I've taken some heat for basically printing what he said.
Right, yeah.
And, I'm a reporter.
Which you're in the business of doing.
Yeah, I'm not going to, say, okay, here's what he told me, but I totally disagree. And
right.
That's just not how journalism works these days.
Right.
If I was writing a column, which, I now have the kind of a little bit more license to do in the past couple of years at the Deseret News, yeah, I might be able to go out and say, here, come on, who you fooling kind of thing. But yeah, I've got to report what the kid told me, and that's what he told me.
And I think there's truth to it. And I also think there's truth that he got his money doubled or whatever it is. He got more money. So be it, question. Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I question the $3.5 million that's been thrown around. People have told me that's overinflated, I think is the word they use. But I do think it's very substantial, and I don't argue with the fact that it's probably doubled the $1 million that he would have got at Baylor.
And good for him, and good for BYU. The only guy who it sucks for is Dallin Hall.
What was that?
The only guy it sucks for is Dallin Hall. He had to leave.
Yeah, that's true. But he landed on his feet at Virginia, an ACC school, and I'm sure he's getting some decent money to go there. And I think I don't know if fans really realize how much agents have got into the college game. And one thing that Rob Wright told me yesterday was that, and I don't know if you don't want to believe him or not, but he said he wasn't even sure how much, who was the highest bidder or how much exact money he was getting, that everything went through BYU's collective people and his agent.
I can buy that.
So and it's not just some guy off the street, it's Wasserman. Wasserman, they represent a lot of big-time athletes, including Tony Finau locally. But, the agents are into the college game like people don't really realize, and so there's a lot that's going on that even school presidents, athletic directors, they don't even know, because it's between agents and collectives. And so in a lot of ways, BYU's brass or Utah's brass or whoever, leaders of any school aren't really dialed into this. It's in a different channel, so to speak.
Right.
Todd Phillips, UVU basketball coach. For our listeners who haven't heard it, they need to search DJ PK Todd Phillips, listen to the interview where he talks about he got a call from a friend in coaching who's in the Big 12, who's outside of the state, who said, everybody, you should know, everybody's talking about your guy. And because they are, I have to. And it was game 5 of the season. And he's like, I don't even know what to tell you about my guy. Call me back after he's played another 10 or 15 games. Then I'll tell you more about him. But we're 5 games into this thing. And Todd was the one who said, agents think that guy's going to be good. He can make me money. I'm going to go over to school B and see what they'll pay for him. Then I'll go back to him and see if he wants to leave school A for that number that I've already talked to them about. So there's third parties all over the place in this thing because there's something in it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone wants a piece of the pie, and that's what these guys, agents, that's what they do for a living. That's how they make their money. And I talked to Caleb Etienne just for this NFL draft story I'm writing. He said, 2 games into the season, he was just getting bombarded by agents. And it's legal now to basically sign with an agent. He was just getting bombarded, and he would 3 games into the season, that he finally had to steer everybody, all the calls off to his fiance or someone else, just because it was just overwhelming to him. So it's out there, and it's a huge factor nowadays.
But that's why I believe that Rob Wright quote that it went through his agent and his dad, because he's the kind of kid who could get bombarded.
Sure.
I totally see why a family would set that up that way.
Absolutely.
That makes absolute sense.
Yeah, no question about it, and that's what he told me, and maybe I could have pressed him a little bit and all that, but I only got 10 minutes with the kid, trying to cover a lot of ground, and that's kind of how it went.
So where'd you get the heat from? Ute fans?
I don't know, on Twitter. A lot of Baylor fans, I think.
Oh, Baylor, there you go.
Yeah, I get that.
I tweeted out a couple of things, just what he said, trying to drum up a little interest, and then, say, hey, story to come, that sort of thing.
You teased me. I couldn't wait. I kept resetting.
Yeah, we're our own publicists now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you need to get yours, buddy. Everybody else is. I mean, I was thinking about this, and I had a great time covering the Utes. Majerus was difficult at times, but the kids on the team were awesome, and the team won, and that was a great era. And then you got the Jimmer thing that was crazy, and now you're going to get DeBonsa, which I think might be even crazier. I'm not sure, because I don't know that he can have that kind of effect as a freshman on his team in the way that Jimmer did as a senior, because that was just incredible. And what do you think about that as far as what you're about to go through next year? Because it's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah, it really is. I've kind of thought about that a lot, and kind of how we're going to handle it. Everybody's going to handle it, and it's obviously going to be. I travel, about half of the games now, and it's every game's going to be, you got to go. You're just you know, the ones in Vegas playing Villanova to open and everything. It kind of used to be the non-conference was kind of, you know, you'd go if you didn't have a football conflict or whatever. But now, it's going to be, you got to be there. Everybody, you know, probably everybody in the market's got to be there for every game. And just, you know, you might even need a kind of a AJ specialist, so to speak. That's kind of how in the Jimmer, that last year with Jimmer, basically I went back and looked at almost every, if I didn't write him in my main piece, my gamer, as we say, I would do a sidebar on how he did. So it was, it's just, it's
sidebar.
Circus, that's for sure.
Newspaper lingo. I love it. Sidebar.
I remember back in the day, the Arizona Republic literally had a beat guy, and the beat was Charles Barkley.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, because you never knew what he would say, what he would do.
And that's all that writer did was just Charles Barkley.
So awesome.
Back in the old Tribune days, Pat, remember when we covered the NBA Finals, 97, 98? My job was I just had to follow Dennis Rodman around. That was it. I just had to follow him around to every interview he did, whatever, every media scrum he got in. I had to be there just in case he said something crazy.
Yeah, I did that. Mark Cuban, when they played the Jazz ended up losing that in a 5-gamer, and I was obviously still working for the paper, and I followed Mark Cuban around. And, boy, I had to have on my track shoes when they won that game, that 5th game. He was all over the place. And it was so fun to do. I loved it.
Before I let you go, Jay, I want to underline something you said because I think it's spot on. I think it goes to a bigger trend that we're going to see play out in college basketball over the next 5 years. So let's make sure we underline your greatness and your observation on this. You said once the BYU fans and the boosters get a taste of this, they can't let it go. And I think anybody who saw the atmosphere inside the Marriott Center, either in person or on TV, knows exactly what you're talking about. The energy in that building was phenomenal, and everyone who was new to it commented on it. Every time there was a new broadcaster on TV, they would talk about it. I think it goes to your point. And the money that they talk about in this CBS story, they were talking about how it's doubled. Like $5 million was a big number a year ago, and now $10 million is a big number. And they were saying a lot of people are trying to front load the NIL before we get to the summer here and the new rules kick in, because with revenue sharing, it's supposed to stop the NIL thing. I don't see how NIL is going to get stopped. If they literally try to stop it, I think it goes under the table, and we're right back to what college basketball was when PK was on the beat in 95 and 2000 and 2010 and whatever. Pick whatever year. It's going to be like that again. And I think it only lasts for a year or two because there'll be a lawsuit. And every time there's a thing about restricting money in the NCAA seems to lose and give ground. So then I think we're back to this very quickly. Do you see it the same way, or do you think it goes some other way?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be really interesting. I don't know if you want to get into the weeds with the House settlement thing that's coming up and what the judge out in Oakland is going to rule any day now, and if she's going to let that go through. But we're already seeing that now with the roster limitations coming, and then you got the whole Title IX thing. How are they going to handle that? So, I mean, we're on a slippery slope, as it were, and I don't see it ending. I mean, they're not going to go back to the old way of not paying players. That's just absolutely not going to happen. So, it's just going to be interesting to see where it all kind of ends up. But it's only going to get bigger and bigger as far as student athletes making money. That's for sure.
Jay, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us. And good luck dealing with all the Baylor fans or the Ute fans or the Cougar fans. Or, you know what, if you're really good, maybe you can irritate them all at the same time.
That's what I try.
That's the goal.
Yeah. When I first started out, I never looked at the comments on Twitter or whatever they call it, feedback or whatever it is. Yeah. I started doing that the last couple of years, and, man, I don't know if I should have.
That's all for fun. We're just having a good time.
Oh, yeah, it's just sports. People take it too serious.
100%.
The other thing, I was just looking at a story, and somebody's writing a story about how people were complaining about college football, and this is going to ruin college football, and the playoff is going to ruin college football. And someone quoted, like, have you seen how many people are watching these games? Like, it's not ruining college football. Look at the checks the networks are lining up to write. It's not ruining college football. It might ruin it for you, but if you're turned off, 2 other people here are now watching. So the beat goes on.
La-di-da-di-dee.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jay. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. Have a great day.
Yep. I thought about you, PK, when I was reading that story because it goes back to a theory that you probably threw out, I don't know, at least 2010, maybe further back than that. You said it doesn't matter how many people don't like the product, whether the product is, you on the radio or you in a newspaper story or, whatever talk show host talking politics or, whatever tire company.
Yeah.
If 50% of the people won't buy your tires or listen to your radio show or read your whatever, well, the other 50% will, and you're a national company and there's 350 million people, you have an audience of 170 million to make money off of.
You good.
You're good to go. Yeah. And so 85% will never listen to host X. Yeah, well, 15%, that's 1 million people, and now you can go sell all the widgets in the world and make your cash.
That's why I hate both Utah and BYU fans.
DJ and PK. See how it works? It's 97.5 The Zone.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number?
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real 2-for-1. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com.
DJ and PK, 9 a.m. Slacker Radio Headlines, brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary, 801-899-7600, to visit the website at TrajanWealth.com. So many things happening in sports. NBA play-ins wrap up tonight. The playoffs start tomorrow. ABC, prime time, Minnesota and the Lakers. Any chance we're going to see Luka Doncic in a Dallas uniform hitting a shot over Rudy Gobert and then turning around and screaming and hollering at him and anybody else who might be within 10 miles?
Yeah, this is the highlight in the West and the first round. I'm actually excited to watch it.
You got a highlight in the East, or you'll take it as it comes, see how it works out?
Well, I anticipate Boston and Cleveland, and I would like to see that.
And I am anticipating Boston and Cleveland in the conference final. I would like to see it, which to me in the first round makes the Pacers and the Bucks and the Knicks and the Pistons more interesting, even though they're not ultimately going anywhere. I wonder if the Knicks will blow it. And Detroit is a team that was down for a long time, and now suddenly they're over 500. They're the 6th seed. Dramatic improvement. Whether we've talked about Oklahoma City, Houston, if you want to look in the East, Detroit's another team. It never looks exactly the same for two teams. But did the Jazz get on an arc like one of those squads, whether it's the Thunder, the Rockets, or the Pistons? Nobody ever does it exactly the same way.
I think the Knicks have a shot.
To what? Conference final, NBA final, win it all?
Yeah, be competitive in the playoffs.
I could see them winning the first round series over the Pistons and then losing to the Celtics in 6.
I would take it.
Yeah. I think that would disappoint Knicks fans, but we're not emotionally connected to the Knicks. But if it works out that way.
My first team, buddy boy.
Yeah, but you've told us a million times you don't get to embrace them now. You go there and you're fans of players and you love the game, but you're not really into the team. You never attached yourself in that way.
Even as a kid, I knew everything about the Knicks, but I never got the highs and lows of winning or losing from that perspective. But I have followed the team religiously because they were on TV. It was our team.
The Pacers and Bucks, can the winner take down Cleveland and get to a conference final? I think the Celtics, although they finished 3 games behind the Cavs, I think the Celtics, as the defending champs, I'm looking to them as a favorite until somebody beats them. But it does look like Cleveland is far and away the biggest threat to Boston.
Yeah, I think you have to put some emphasis on the regular season. You can't dismiss it completely.
Playoffs start tomorrow. 4 games tomorrow and 4 more on Sunday. We got the playing games tonight to decide who the 8th seeds are. We also talked a lot about BYU today and the CBS story. That was really good reporting, PK. Those numbers are hard to come by. And assuming you take them at face value and stick with them, and I think there's enough quotes from people who, obviously don't want to be named, but nonetheless, there's enough quotes in there. I think they ballparked it pretty good there.
Fine. And from BYU's perspective, it's a big yes. So what? What are you going to do about it?
Nothing. I
just let it go.
I just want to know, what is college sports like now? And you're right. If I were BYU, this is a perfect time not to have any comment and just keep trying to put your roster. Yeah, keep your.
Then there'll be another story out there tomorrow.
Keep your roster together.
Stop telling us that you're not doing this, so you're not literally the highest bidder. And if I've got $3 million, or if I got $2 million, and somebody offers me 1.7, and I think BYU's a better situation for me, I take it. Great. So they're doing that.
Well, AJ DeBanza got really good advice there. As far as there's a threshold, there's a number you need to hit. And once you hit that, it's not an auction to the highest bidder. Okay, where do I fit? What coach do I click with? What coach do I believe in is going to make me better? You got to get to the threshold.
Yeah.
And for him, because he's him and he's so talented and
and he wants to come to BYU.
Right.
That should be celebrated,
yes.
Not how much money he's getting. Because they're all getting it.
Yep.
I'm over it. BYU, run with it. Enjoy it. These are great times. That BYU has nothing to apologize for. I wouldn't even downplay it. It's bringing you attention. Why are these guys, who are these money people? And why are they so committed to their school? That's a positive for the Latter-day Saint Church, not a negative. I see no negatives in this. So I would tell the commissioner and the other guys, let it go.
The cost of playing poker in the Big 12, this is it. The $10 million schools, BYU and Texas Tech are the two Big 12 schools.
And I've heard all out but Texas Tech that they spent over $12 million or something on their transfer class in football.
The $8 million realm is Auburn, Houston. Let's not leave Auburn aside. Just go with the Big 12 schools. Houston, Kansas, Kansas State. So that's 5 of the 16 schools that are at $8 million or more.
Good for them.
That's the cost of playing poker in the Big 12. And I'd love to know the numbers on all 16 Big 12 schools and where Utah will stack up.
Look at the standings.
Presumably,
that'll show you the numbers.
Well, next year, though, because presumably Alex went in and said, if you want me, you got to hit this number. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure he had an NIL number. We got to get here for player compensation, whether it's NIL or this new pool of money that may become available. We got to get to here. Which is great, because I assume if you're the athletic director at Utah, then you go have a meeting with the football coach, and Kyle Whittingham says, we got to get to here. And then you got to go to the boosters and owners like, we got to get to here.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever money he has, speaking of Alex, he needs to get some top-flight talent and pay them. So in the glory days, you would pay Andre and Van Horn.
Right.
And then everybody else would be slotted below.
Right. Well, and then he's also got to do what Majerus did. You got to go find a diamond in the rough like Doliak. Now, as he gets good, you're going to have to find money for him too. The first year, maybe nobody sees it. After he plays that freshman season, people start seeing it. And after the sophomore season, everybody's seeing it.
Yeah, and then more people want to give you money.
Yeah, right. It's got to draw more boosters.
Thinks he's a $2.5 million receiver. Tell him, you're not.
What?
You're not. You're not. That's not who you are, man. Get out of town. Get out of my face.
Anything else you want to catch the people up on?
No.
Your Diamondbacks, 4th place, on pace for 97, 98 wins.
It's April. There is no such thing as 4th place.
Aren't you happy, though, that they're out of the gate playing over 600 balls, looking good?
They should be. They got a real good team. That's no big surprise.
Surprised how good that division is? And we don't normally see this.
Giants.
The Giants are the one.
Yeah.
Padres and Dodgers were supposed to be good. Well, the Dodgers were supposed to be.
The other three
they're
were
the
supposed to be good.
Yeah.
And the Giants are the surprise. There's a surprise of baseball right now. I was watching that Philly game. It was an afternoon game yesterday, and it was intense. It was awesome in April. I loved it. It was raining. I had nothing to do.
Can't golf in that weather.
No. I'd gone to the gym. And then give me intense April baseball. I'm all over it.
Press conference coming up, 10:30. We'll have more for you on this later in the day. The Millers are going to be announced / introduced as the new owners of Real Salt Lake.
Release,
Press release went out at 8, I think.
Sweet, man. It keeps the team local.
Yep.
And they're not going to move it. So for all you soccer folks, your team is here. And the Millers, they got a track record. How do you argue with their track record?
Right. And hopefully they bring that kind of stability. Because this club over the last decade has averaged almost one change per year, whether it's head coach, GM, or owner. They have never gotten a group and kept it together.
If they fire the head coach, I'm done with them.
I hear you.
They can fire anybody else. I don't really care.
You don't really care.
But they better not touch him.
I think in this case, the brakes on the whole thing has been ownership. The 2 best years they've had. You want to say, what's the best postseason they had? Well, it was when Pablo stepped in and went to the Western Conference Final. At that point, they didn't have an owner. They didn't have anyone getting in the way, trying to weigh in on decisions. The people went and did their things and ended up in the Western Conference Final. And the best regular season they had last year was when they opened the checkbook for the first time and they paid a guy the most they'd ever paid to get somebody, and that was Andres Gomez, and then they topped it and they paid Chicho, and that was the most they'd ever paid to get somebody. And they scored the most goals they've ever scored, and they finished third in the West and had the most points they've ever earned. So owners stay out of the way, open the checkbook, and go. And the Jazz, when the Millers at the start owned it, they didn't have the money to go like that. Larry was betting on the club and was, buying the team, buying half the team, building the arena. There wasn't a lot of extra money to go around. Now you get later into their ownership and his businesses are more profitable and turn out more cash, then he had a different attitude. They gave players huge contracts in the 2000s. And I think they're going to I don't know, but I think they're going to behave more like that because they can. They just couldn't in the early days. And that'd be good for the club because what they've needed is stability, which is what the Millers looked like when they ran the Jazz. It was a pretty stable show. And they need to spend some money. They don't have to spend the most money, but they got to spend competitive money.
Oh, just like BYU.
Really, it's because college sports is pro sports. I mean, you laugh because it's funny and your timing was good. It was funny, but it was funny because it was true. If BYU wants to beat Houston and Kansas State and Texas Tech, they need to pay in the neighborhood of those schools.
Yes.
And if RSL wants to win the league and they want to beat Miami and Seattle, who are going off to Club World Cup, then do it. The goal can't be, well, we're going to make the playoffs or, top 4 in the West. The minimum goal has to be the Champions League. They now call it the Champions Cup. You got to qualify for that. You got to be in the top 20% of the league. You can't win the thing every year. The playoffs are super fluky in soccer like they are in baseball or, sometimes hockey. Yeah, hockey. They're super fluky. Last year when they were really good, they were really good last year. They were one of the top 6 of the league, and 4 of the top 6 teams went out in the first round because they are fluky. Messi and Miami went out in the first round.
The drafted PKs.
Yes. Drats.
PKs always getting in the way.
And I suppose there'll be a lot of questions at this about, okay, you're in on soccer, when are you in on baseball? And my guess is that they will dodge those questions and minimize their answers. Not dodge them, but maybe minimize their answers to those questions.
Well, the process is rolling along, and the process could change.
It could.
Things can change in a year or 2 or 3.
There's a couple things.
For the better.
There's a couple things here. One, the commissioner says he wants to retire in 2029. He has the right to change his mind like everybody else. And he says he wants to expand before then. He wants to be the one to announce it. So that's the positive. But he has said these other teams need to take care of the stadiums. And Vegas looks like it's very close to breaking ground. They're almost across the finish line. That looks really positive. Tampa Bay just looks like an endless series of question marks. That one's not settled.
I think I'll retire in 2029, too.
You're just making stuff up now. You and Rob Manfred going out together?
Yeah.
Arms raised?
Why not?
Like candidates at a convention?
I got 5 more years in me. I am going to wait until Christian turns 30.
It's 2025, and 2029 is 4 years away. So do you have 5 years in you, or do you have 4?
I did with him turning 30 because he told me he's turning 25 here next month. So that's where I went.
Chicho!
I pivoted.
Okay. DJ and PK, your feedback next.
Most here. Don't go nowhere.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Analyst for the Utah Hockey Club. He joins us each and every week. He's our buddy Nick Olchek.
Is it too early to bring in a 100-point score, or do you always take that opportunity if the guy fits the timeline?
Look, this team's ready to win. They are. So how do you take that next step? I think a little bit more firepower certainly could help. To move out Shea Weber's contract, it not only frees up more space, but I think is a stake in the ground of, okay, now we're into the next evolution. No longer longer are we the team that's trying to just get to the floor and just stay somewhat competitive. Now we're ready to win. We're ready to have as much money at our disposal as possible to go out and make some moves and bring in some important players and key pieces that we think can help us win. So, yeah, if that's getting a 100-point scorer, I think that would be a perfect fit for this team that is ready to win now.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. It is time for your feedback. And PK, a lot of reaction coming into the old CBS sports story about the $10 million college basketball club. There's 10 schools that are reportedly, it's hard to get these numbers down, but CBS, talking to a lot of sources in the industry, believes there are 10 schools over $10 million, and there's another 20 schools that are between $7 and $9 million in NIL money. And they think that money is basically doubled from a year ago. This is like, people are, to quote Dennis Lindsey, man, people are pushing their chips to the middle of the table. College basketball, schools are going all in. BYU, CBS reports, is in that $10 million club.
Good
sitting there
them.
right next to Duke and North Carolina and Kentucky and Indiana and Louisville and all the names you think would be there.
We look down at Duke.
So the reaction coming in, 11-2 and highly ranked at True Blue BYU 1984. From Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, the two teenagers, excellent.
I feel the same way. Excellent.
Well, it's also what you've always said about BYU fans. You know, there's the cheer stuff and all of that, but when they go to the stadium or they go to the arena, they're like every other fan. What do they want to see?
Yeah.
They want to see a win. And right now, it looks like money is driving wins, so 11-2 highly ranked is all about it.
Right.
And then we got Brandon. We need college football soon because the whining and crying from Ute fans over BYU NIL money is getting old by now. Let's argue about something else, please. Well, Brandon, number one, no. People always talk about money. And number two, Jay Drew says he's getting it from Baylor fans.
Oh, if I were Baylor fans, I'd be ticked.
I'd be upset, yeah.
You stole my guy.
Yeah, you just lost a good player. So of course
fair and love in college basketball.
This goes back to what we heard from Rondo Feldberg. He said BYU is the big dog. Now, I'd take issue with that.
I've been saying it for years. They are the big dog.
They are not the big dog in the Big 12 yet.
Yes, they are.
Sharing one conference football title isn't enough to make you the big dog. But given the money they have, they could be there.
They're already there.
3, 4, 5 years down the road, they might be looking at multiple football titles, multiple basketball titles, and or deep NCAA tournament runs. But the not to go all Emperor and the Star Wars on you, the hate is flowing freely now because when Baylor loses a player, this is the same story as you and Quinn Snyder at that Jazz workout for the media when he looked at you and said, "Well, one way or another, we're going to be a story." Right? Yeah. We pushed up. We were good. We brought in these veterans. Now, if we're big, we're a story, and if we're not winning big, we're a story. It's the same way with BYU. If they win big because they brought in Robert Wright III, they're a story. If they don't cash in and if they backslide, they're a story.
Some years they might not win as much, but name me one program that was in the Sweet 16 and won a bowl game in the Big 12.
Yeah.
They're the big dog.
There it is. They did hit on that double.
They're the big dog.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. When we come back, Jake and Ben take over next right here on The Zone.